Good morning, everybody. We'll start in just a little bit. I've got almost another hour of music that I could play, but I think I'll end it there for now. And just say that I'm really excited to present not only the machine that we're going to be showcasing during the live stream today, but also a twin brother that is going to be offered for sale. They are, as you can see in the live stream shot right now, they are virtually identical. The paint patina, the decaling on these two PFAFF 130-6s, the optimization and the engineering that they've gotten through the workshop magic is identical. So what you see this machine doing today, you'll be able to count on this machine being able to do the same or even more. Now, let me tell you a little bit about why I titled this live stream what I did. The title of this live stream, I think, is something like Movie Mike. Let me look. I can't see it. I think it's something like Movie Mike. And the reason is, let me actually come into the shot. Okay, I think I almost got it. Okay, the reason I titled this Movie Mike is when I first got into a conversation over the phone with Mike, who happens to be from the great state of Illinois. He and I were talking about these two machines, the anticipated needs that they would have, which was fairly extensive. And he said, I really don't need, and I don't know why he said this. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm joking. But he said, I really don't need two PFAFF 130-6s. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why wouldn't you want two? Two is better than one, and one is better than none. So if you can have two and you've already got them, why not? But he was pretty determined. He said, I really would like to offer the other one, the brother of my machine. I'd like to offer that machine for sale. And when you present the machine that I'm going to keep, would you also present the other one and see if anyone in the audience would be interested in acquiring this other FOF 130-6. I said, yeah, I did that for another customer, Mary, who just picked up her featherweight Centennial model and her Necky machine. She drove like 3 hours in from way up somewhere in Michigan. I think it's almost on Lake Superior or somewhere out there. But Mary drove a good distance and just picked up those two machines. I said I did it for Mary for that 66 hand crank that ended up going out to Nevada. I could certainly do it for you and see if anyone is in the market for a fully optimized workshop Magic Rich Western Germany engineered FOF 130-6. He said, I really appreciate it. So we're going to be focused on this machine today. But while we're focused on this machine that's going to be heading back to Illinois next week, let me also invite you to consider the possibilities of adding this other 130-6 to your personal collection. If you don't already have this workhorse of a machine with a huge dose of workshop magic, you want to seriously consider it. If you're looking to do upholstery, leather sewing, anything at all that is way, way off the charts as far as heaviness, even denim. I mean, these machines, when they're fully optimized in the workshop, you can't really find their limit. You can't find their limit as far as what they're able to do. You're constantly surprised. Even I'm surprised with the amount of time that I spent on these machines, how easily they get the job done. They just, I mean, it's just like a blink and you're already done. And so I'm going to show you a little bit more of this machine, obviously, and then you can reach out if you want more details on the possibilities of adding this machine to your personal collection. Okay, yeah, and in my personal collection, I believe as far as FOF machines, I probably have about, don't quote me on this, but I probably have almost 50 to 60 different models of FOF machines dating all the way back to the early 1900s. And so I'm a big fan of the Western Germany machines. And I think if you don't have one yet and you acquire this machine that belongs to Movie Mike, I think you're going to be absolutely delighted that you took that step of picking this machine up, especially knowing that it's already gone through the detailed servicing and restoration, optimization, magical movie magic that the machines go through in the workshop. So you're going to be able to sit down to that machine confidently knowing that it's going to sew an absolutely drop dead gorgeous stitch. So any rate, why do I call this guy from Illinois? Why do I call him Movie Mike? Does anyone know? I shared this with some of the leaders, I believe. Why do I call this guy Movie Mike from Illinois? And by the way, right now he's not in Illinois. He shared with me yesterday as I was getting through the final steps of preparing his machine to present it today. He said, guess where I'm at today? Because through his work, he travels all over the country. He says, I'm out in Seattle, Washington. And yes, it is raining right now. And I right away kind of defended Seattle. I said, Seattle doesn't rain all the time. I said, I lived in that area for a little bit short of 2 years, and they have a rainy time, but it's a misty rainy time, and it doesn't last forever. So I think, both Oregon and Washington State, they get a bad rap. They get a bad rap when it comes to being the rainy place. You know, if you live there, you're going to have web feet, I think is what some people say. That's a bunch of malarkey. It's probably between Washington State and Oregon, two of the most beautiful states that I've ever had the privilege to see. And I only drove through Oregon. I didn't live in it like Washington State. And everyone knows in Washington State, pretty much no matter where you live, you have a beautiful view of that epic mountain there that I actually climbed up to about probably 10,500 feet. I didn't go all the way to the summit, which is over 14,000 feet, but I went to the area above. It's called Paradise. I went to the area above Paradise on Mount Rainier out there. And when you're even at that level of about 10,000 feet on Mount Rainier, you can see so far out. I don't remember how many states you can see, but it's ridiculous. And then you can see all the other mountains that are near there. You can see the Cascade Mountains. You can see Mount St. Helens, I think it is, Mount Adams. I haven't been out there in a while, so I forget all the mountains you can see as well when you get up to that level on Mount Rainier. It's really quite a neat place to visit. If you've never been there, you've got to put it on your bucket list. And when you arrive there, you drive and drive and drive up, and then you hope you can find a parking spot. And even at the place that you park before you decide to go up some of the trails that lead towards the summit of that mountain, you're already at about 8,000 feet. So if you have difficulty breathing, bring your whatever they call those things, that thing, bring one of those along, so that you don't have any medical crisis. Because as you go up the mountain, I ascended from the parking spot, which is called Paradise, at around 8,000 feet. I went up another 2,000 feet. And you could tell, even as fit as I was when I did it, I was still in the Army. So I was running and doing all kinds of things like that. You get a little bit winded when you start going up to that elevation. So if you add it to your bucket list, make sure you do some preparation before you go to get yourself in reasonable shape so that you can enjoy the experience of, getting up to, let's say, 10,000 feet. And depending on the time of the year you go, down at the Paradise level where you park your car at about 8,000 feet, it might be 72, 74 degrees or 76 degrees. But as you get up to around 10,000, 10,500 feet, you will be surprised how the weather changes just with about 2,000 to 2,500 feet. I remember when I was there, parked the car. It took a while to get a parking spot. It's not a huge space that they have, considering the volume of people that want to visit that mountain. But when you park your car there, and then you start to ascend the mountain, and you get up to about 10,000 plus feet, all of a sudden the weather changes, the temperature drops. It's much brighter. So bring your sunglasses if you go. And also, if you're there in what they would consider the winter months, November, December, January, that sort of thing, you're going to be shocked that when you get to around 10,500 feet, you might see snow. There was snow up there when I was there, and no snow down where I parked my car. So it's amazing how 2,000 plus feet, about a half a mile, 2,500 feet, about a half a mile, can change what you experience. I thought it was amazing. So put it on your bucket list and see if you can't pull that off. And then we can share stories about what you saw, because I haven't been there in a long time. It may have changed quite a bit. Hopefully they expanded their parking spots a little bit more, because that's a commodity, major commodity. So at any rate, let me go around and greet everybody and say some good mornings. Also, I'm going to see if I can give you a clear shot of Mike's machine. Oh, and I never shared with you. I meant to share with you. I meant to. So I get distracted. I meant to share with you. Why do I call him Movie Mike? It's because on that first phone conversation, we got on the topic of vocations. And he said, you may not know it's a thing, but what I do for a living is I drive all around the country to movie theaters. They might be owned privately. They might be owned by a big chain like Marcus or by one of those other big chains. And I clean their movie screen. I use a special process, special solvents, special equipment, and I clean their movie screen. And The reason I do that is these fancy projectors that show these movies in the movie theater, they've got sensors that will like bounce. I don't know if it's a laser or what it is, but they'll bounce a beam off of that screen, and then the bulb or bulbs inside of those projectors will adjust the brightness of how that movie is being displayed, so that it's got the greatest clarity, it's got the greatest presentation possible in that movie theater. And he said the problem is the screens get dirty. And in some places I go, it's not just dust and soot and other environmental stuff like that. Some of the places I go, and he named a couple of markets, but I won't do that because I don't want to shame anybody that lives in those areas. But he said in some of the places, not only am I cleaning off, the environmental stuff that might get sucked in by the air conditioning or by the heat in the winter, but people will throw the most ridiculous things at movie screens. They'll throw hot dogs, and they'll throw sticky, gooey, yucky stuff that gets stuck to the screen. And then what happens is those projectors that are trying to adjust the brightness of the movie that everyone in the theater is looking forward to watching and enjoying, those bulbs will have to get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter to offset the filth that's on the movie screens, because they haven't been cleaned yet. And he said that might not sound like a big deal, but when you're looking at replacing some of the bulbs on these professional movie projectors or whatever that are showing these big box movies, what would you guess if you're replacing one of the bulbs on one of those projectors? What would you guess the cost is to replace one of those bulbs on one of those projectors? And while you're guessing that, I'm going to go over and say some good mornings and see how close you folks get, because I was pretty surprised. I was a little bit surprised. All right. And why don't I put on a little bit more German music while I'm looking at the live chat and saying some good mornings. I'll just turn the volume down a little bit. All right, good mornings. Well, obviously, good morning to Susie, who was first in the classroom again today. I almost beat her, and then I had a glitch in trying to type what I wanted to type, and she snuck in just before me. So kudos to Susie from Minnesota in being first in the classroom again. I'm going to issue a personal challenge. That on one of these live stream mornings, and maybe sometime in the future, we'll start doing a couple of live streams occasionally in the evening as well, which might work better for some of our European cow country family members. It might work a little bit better for some of our cow country family members over in Europe. But I'm going to issue a personal challenge that if someone can beat Susie in the classroom as I initiate the live stream, I want to send you a special surprise gift. I'm going to send you a special surprise gift. So Susie's really going to have to be on the ball, because if someone can sneak in the classroom before she gets there, and she's like there even before I click the final go live. I mean, she is just sitting on the edge of the seat, getting ready to jump in. So you're going to have to be really fast. You're going to have to be super fast to beat Susie into the classroom. But if you somehow do it, I'm going to send you something really, really special as a congratulations, because I think it's just fun. I think it's fun to be able to have a little contest like that to inspire people to get to the classroom early and get ready for school, get ready to learn some new stuff. Okay, so good morning to Susie, our speed demon from Minnesota. Um, Good morning also to Emma B. Good morning to Emma from the great state of Florida. And Emma's brother, if you didn't know this, Emma's brother um, just got the 185J Nestor out in Annapolis, Maryland. And Emma shared a couple of fun pictures. You'll get a kick out of this. I think you'll get a kick out of this. Nestor was involved in some high security governmental stuff. We'll just leave it at that. He was involved in some high level governmental stuff, top secret, blah 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 stuff, kind of like I was in the military, and so he's got to be sensitive about protecting his identity, even though he's retired officially now just recently. So he shared a couple of pictures posing with his machine, but he's slightly incognito. Let me see if I can show this picture to you. I got a kick out of it. I thought it was cool. And within hours or less of getting this machine unpacked, and part of Nestor's job in the military or in the government was he supervised or observed the packing of incredibly valuable multi-million-dollar things that the government was sending or receiving, that sort of stuff. And he gave some very, very kind words about my packing method. He said it would pass any measurement of quality QA that we would have had as far as government standards for items that were worth millions of dollars that I was either sending or responsible for receiving and making sure that it arrived without any damage. So I think our packing method is really good. And with Nestor's endorsement, I feel like we've got a really good thing. But guess what? It's continuing to get better. It's continuing to get better. I'm making innovations. Even with Nestor's shipment, I had to make some innovations and adjustments to fit everything into that 18-gallon container because the 185J, like the 192K, has that plastic base, and you don't want to ship one of those machines mounted in the plastic base because it's very, very likely to get damaged. So I had to separate the base and the lid and pack all of that in the container so that all three of those components arrive safely. And my was a resounding success according to Nestor. But any rate, very excited. Nestor is already embracing sewing. He's already jumping into a number of different projects that Emma might want to share more details on what already Nestor, her brother, has tackled with this Canadian 185J that was shipped to him as a belated birthday present. But that's really kind of exciting news, isn't it? That's news. And again, Nestor is protecting his identity because there might be folks that would want to figure out, I don't know what they want to figure out, but at any rate, it is what it is, right? We live in a crazy world, don't we? We live in a crazy world. Okay. Let me finish saying some good mornings and we'll move forward full steam. All right. I thought these glasses were clean, but I guess they're not. Let me see. All right, I'm going to put on my power pink glasses, I think. All right, so good morning also to Al Koss, a.k.a. Alex from the great state of California. Good morning. Can share, if you want to share some of your tips and tricks with Jenny, our ambassador to needles, these needles launching, because I think sales have been kind of slow on them. People have struggled with them, and those that have had success with the double eye needles. And if you're saying double eye, what? What's a double eye? What? Let me show you. See if I can get these down. The double eye needle is an alternative to the original twin needle that was so common back in the day. Let me see if I can find it. Got it somewhere. Where is it? I thought I don't. Oh, there it is. So these are the double needles. And rather than having a single shank with two needles mounted to it like the traditional twin needles, this is a single needle with a single shank with two holes for the eyes on the needle, one above the other. And they're a little bit tricky, apparently very tricky, because I tried it only, I think, on one occasion, and I didn't have any success with it. But Teresa tried it, made a couple of adjustments, and had some incredible success with this double eye needle. In fact, if the leaders want to give away, they can come up with their own contest. I'll give away up to 2 packs of these double eye needles today if the leaders want to come up with some questions or whatever. It could be relating to the PFAFF sewing machine company, so it's germane to the live stream. It could be about this specific model, the PFAFF 130-6, or whatever they choose to do. I'll leave that up to them. And anytime during the live stream, if they want to come up with a contest question or something of that nature, these 2 packs of double eye needles are up for grabs if you want to try to win them. And then you can get some tips and tricks from Teresa and Jenny on how to have success with these new innovative type needles that Schmetz is hoping will take off. But, based on what I've seen on some of the sites on Pinterest, on Etsy, on Wallwack, these are getting reduced continually as far as the sale price of them, which is telling me right now Schmetz needs a little bit of help from us in being able to boost their sales on these double eye needles. So if you want to win a pack of these and develop some more techniques in having success with them, like Teresa and like Jenny, then go ahead and watch for those questions. Watch for those questions from the leaders as to what you need to do to potentially win them. And if the leaders want some ideas, I can text out some ideas to make it relevant to this live stream about PFAFF, about the 130-6, etc. Because I didn't prepare them for this. I just kind of threw it out there. So, but at any rate, yeah. If I think that these are a cool idea. You just know how best to use them. So, all right, let me set that over there. Who else do we have? Let me go down the line here. Okay, so I said hello to Teresa as well. Hello to hello to Bill. Hello to Bill over in Minnesota, Mesa Group. Good to see you, Bill, this morning. And of course, when I say hello to Bill, I say hello to his daughter, Lisa, as well, and to their puppy, who just had a birthday. And if you didn't catch that, go to Facebook and you can look for that picture of, isn't it Nora? Nora is their puppy, I believe. And Nora just had a first birthday, and there's a beautiful picture of Bill's daughter, Lisa, holding this beautiful puppy that soon will become a world famous hunter. Bill is hoping as hunting season starts to approach, and Bill's hoping to take Nora out and do some wonderful outdoorsy stuff. Yeah. Who else do we have? Oh, hello to Christine from Canada, and I think Christine is going to have to leave shortly. She's got to get to work, but she said if I can pop into the live stream and say hello to the family before I rush off to work, I'm going to do it. And I'm so glad to see that she was able to. She's been so busy at points working two jobs, plus providing support and care for her dad as well, and just kind of taking care of the family. So our special gal up in Canada is running fast and furious to try to keep up with all the demands on her life right now. So it's always great to have Christine here in one of the live streams. Good morning also to my favorite gal in Vermont, Erin Allen. Always great to have Erin here, who has had a number of machines come through the workshop and get a dose of workshop magic. And yeah, she even reached out recently about another machine, but I said, because I'm in kind of a potential transition point now where I'm going to be looking to get a larger facility because of the demands on the business and because of some personal develops in my life as well. I said I can't take your machine right now, but keep it on hold, and we'll get to that soon enough. I believe it was a Kenmore, if I'm not mistaken. So always great to see Erin here at the live stream. All right, who else do we have? Joelle as well. Great to have Joelle here. And a little bit of word of encouragement to Joelle. Right now, I've got these two PFAFF 130-6s on this workbench. On the other workbench, soon, very, very soon, maybe as early as this Saturday, I'll finally be presenting this 1222E that came all the way from California. And again, this was a family project where Joelle and her entire family rallied around this project and contributed financially to make it possible. So it'll be really exciting to be able to present that 1222E. It's a very, very complex machine, and I never want to rush into things if I don't know that I've made every single adjustment on the machine that I can to get it to a point where it's going to be able to stitch any of the stitches potentially to near perfection. And if you have an idea of what this machine is capable of, I'll show you the secret list. And Joelle said she already has a copy of this, but the secret list of the stitches that are hidden, they're not known to a lot of people that have 1222s or 1222Es. These are stitches that if you don't have a copy of this, you're not going to know about these stitches. But Joelle said she has a copy of this already, and I'm going to be offering, when I live stream her 1222E, if anyone doesn't have a copy of this, and Susie and Emma are really good at research, there might be a copy of this on the internet somewhere. Otherwise, I'd be happy to, at a nominal cost, because I would want to print it in color. When I do that live stream on Joelle's machine, I'm going to be offering to send out a copy of this to people if they own one of those machines and they don't know about all these stitches. But I'm just going to show you real quick. If I go kind of up, these are all the stitches right here. That's a lot of stitches. That's a lot of stitches. And that's why I'm trying to be extra cautious in making sure that I've covered all the bases on this 1222E that belongs to Joelle and her family before I present it, because it is literally one of the most complex machines to restore, optimize, and to verify and to make adjustments on out of any machine that I've ever had on the workbench. The 1222E is really the pinnacle. It's the pinnacle of mechanical Western engineering, even beyond these 130-6s, even if they had that embroidery kit on the back of them, which these do, that 1222E is just a monster to get fine-tuned and running at the top of its game. That's why I've been kind of holding off and double checking and triple checking all stitches on this this outstanding machine from the great state of California. Okay. Who else do we have? Let me go down the rest of the list. I'm going to put on a little bit more polka music. And of course, I clicked the wrong button. I hope I'm not the only one that clicks the wrong button when you're trying to rush to do something. I might as well do an audio and a video check right now as well. Well, I hope everybody is enjoying the end of the summer and the beginning of autumn and fall. Just going to check audio again. Hold on real quick. Test. Test, test. Sounds like our audio quality is really, really good. I'm going to turn the volume down now. But yeah, soon enough, this is nearing the end of August. Soon enough, depending on where you live, the weather's going to be changing. I know that as Christine and I were talking, Christine from Canada and I were talking last winter, the weather they were getting up there where she lives, I believe she's in the eastern part of Canada, near Ontario. The weather they were getting, oh my goodness gravy. We were comparing almost daily the number of inches of snow, and she usually was beating me with the snow that they were getting up in Canada. Lots and lots of snow up there. So soon that will become a reality for us as we move away from summer and we move into that next phase of the season, or seasons as it is. So, yeah, it's always exciting when the seasons change. I think sometimes it seems like we blink and summer is gone, but at the same time, the crisp, cool air that comes, at least in this area and in the area where many of you live, is a welcome thing after some of the hotter days. I believe today and tomorrow, and someone can check the weather for the greater Oconto, Wisconsin, Green Bay area. But today and tomorrow, we're going to be in the 90s here. I believe tomorrow they said with the heat index, we could be at almost 110 degrees with a heat index in this area by tomorrow. So needless to say, my retreat area down at this lower level of the workshop is where I'll be spending a lot of my time to escape that super hot weather that we're going to have for the next 48 to 72 hours. Lots and lots of hot weather. Lots of hot weather. Let's see here. Also going to check a couple of messages real quick. Just bear with me for a second. Get acquainted, visit with some folks while I'm just doing a little bit more house. What do they call it? Not house cleaning. Whatever the phrase is. You know what I mean. Maybe it is house cleaning. I have no idea. All right. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. We're still here. We're still live. I'm just doing a little bit of housekeeping, or maybe it's called housekeeping. Is that what it is? I said house cleaning. I guess if you're doing housekeeping, you're still house cleaning, right? I think they're one and the same. I think they're one and the same. They might be. And I saw some nice comments, folks excited about the upcoming live stream for that 1222E. It's not the first. It's not the first 1222E that I presented on this channel. And if you go under the playlist of I forget what the playlist is called. It's something like German engineered machines, tough as nails, or something like that. You'll see some of the videos, or you can search on the main page using the little hourglass thing and just type in, PFAFF 1222, PFAFF 1222E, and you'll see some of the videos that I've done on that machine. But it really is, like I said, from an engineering standpoint, and with Emma's brother that just got that 185J out in Annapolis, Maryland, with him being a retired engineer, I bet you he would just drool over being able to examine Joel's 1222E and look at the incredible engineering that was built into that machine without ever having to add a cam and generate that huge scope of stitches that it's capable of doing. It's really kind of amazing. The wonder of engineering, isn't it? The wonder of engineering. Okay, let me go down the rest of the list. I've gotten all my house cleaning or housekeeping done, or whatever they call it. And now we can move on with this live stream. And again, if you're joining us a little bit late, the reason you're seeing two screens is not because you're having ocular problems. It's not because you're having vision. It's because Movie Mike, that goes around cleaning movie screens for movie theater owners, so that their machines don't burn out these expensive bulbs that I never gave you the answer to. Depending on the projector, the bulbs that show these movies that we all watch in the movie theaters, that project those beautiful high definition images on that huge screen, the average cost of one of those bulbs that can burn out more quickly if the screen is real dirty and it keeps adjusting the brightness up automatically with the sensors that they have on their projectors. The average cost for one of those bulbs is right around $3,000 to $5,000. $3,000 to $5,000. And some of the bulbs, Mike said, can be over $10,000, depending on the type of projector that theater owner is using. So you can see why they would want Mike to come out and clean their screens, so that those bulbs last as long as possible, when you're talking about the average cost of $3,000 to $5,000. And most of these theaters, as you know, have multiple theater locations within. So, if you have two bulbs go out in two different theaters, you could be looking at $10,000. And I don't know what Mike charges. I didn't ask him, but I would pretty much guarantee to go in and clean a screen, it's not going to cost $10,000. They price it accordingly. So there's an incentive for these theater owners and operators to hire Mike to go in and get that screen absolutely spick and span. After all, the little kids and some obnoxious adults are throwing hot dogs and cotton candy and everything else at these movie screens, ensuring Mike's livelihood, ensuring Mike's livelihood that he'll never be for lack of work, as people are defacing the movie screens across the country. Like I said, he's out in Seattle right now, and I know he's been on the East Coast, he's been in the South, he's been everywhere, driving all over the place, helping these movie owners and operators out so their bulbs don't burn out as quickly. All right, who else do we have? Good morning also to Candido from the great state of New York. Always great to have my dear friend Candido here. And it's possible his lovely wife, Rachel, is also in the wings. So I want to say hello to Rachel as well out in the great state of New York. And some of you know I sent a parch machine out to Candido out in New York, and it was for the Viking 1010. He's already gotten that Viking 1010 back to wholeness again and operating, and he shared some pictures and some video clips of his success in rebuilding, restoring, refurbishing, re-renovating, whatever you want to call it, that Viking 1010. So it's great when we can take a machine that is disabled and not functional and get it back to a working state again. So congratulations again to Candido, and with a little bit of help from the workshop, using his own version of Candido Workshop Magic to get that Viking 1010 back to a point where it's operating again. So that's really a great success. Who else do we have? Still scrolling. Good morning also to Kathy King. Great to have Kathy here always. Good morning to Stephen Armstrong. I haven't seen Stephen for a while. It's great to see Stephen here and reconnecting with the family again. And Stephen is from down south. I always mess it up, but I believe that it's Kentucky, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's Kentucky that Stephen calls home. Beautiful state just above Tennessee, and famous for so many things, if I've got it right. If I don't have it right, kind of like I always used to put, I put a couple people in the wrong states, even the wrong countries, but hopefully Stephen is from Kentucky. Otherwise, he might consider moving there so I can still be right. That would be great. All right, who else do we have? I'm still scrolling. Oh, good morning to Renee as well. I see that Renee is or was in the live chat. Renee, again, is a local gal, a dear friend of mine. I know her family. I've broken bread with her dad before at the restaurant, and just so many great people in the Oconto area. And it's always great to have Renee here as part of the live stream. You guys are really chatty today. I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I'm still not down to the bottom yet. Not there yet. Getting close. Okay, I finally made it. I just made it. Yeah, I think you can get, depending on how you do it, Christine, I think you can get carpal tunnel from doing scrolling this. And yeah, I mean, I can feel it on my wrist already. I might have to get a brace. I might have to get a brace so I don't, yeah, I don't get crippled or something. That would be horrible. Okay. So once again, if you've been contemplating the idea of wanting to add a Western Germany sewing machine to your personal collection, this is a this is going to be a fully restored Workshop Magic Rich PFAFF 130-6. And again, if you don't know the difference between the 130 and the 130-6, as you look at the top of the machines, over here by the pillar area, you can see the pillar area of these machines is noticeably wider than a traditional 130 model. And that's because instead of having a single cleated belt, the 130-6s have two cleated belts as part of their drive system, pushing that power down to the needle. So there's two cleated belts in both of these machines. Makes them even more of a workhorse type machine. But this one that Movie Mike is wanting to offer for sale is really quite a lovely specimen of a machine. The decal and quality, as you can see, the paint patina and all the mechanics and the wiring are going to be like brand new when I get done with this machine here. This one's already done, but when I get done with the final steps on this machine, you're going to have a machine that is absolutely a workshop magical type machine. And it will be touched with the special workshop magic of this wand that Susie sent me from Minnesota, just like this one already has been fully. So don't miss out. Don't miss out if you've been contemplating a Western Germany machine. They're like none other when it comes to that engineering and the strength and the drive in doing heavy duty sewing, or doing any sewing for that matter, on these machines. So let me start you with the first question. And if the leaders want to use this as if they want to use this as their contest to give away some of those double eye needles, they can certainly do that. But let me ask you, first of all, I'm going to ask you three different questions. What year was the, and don't type the answers in until you get all the questions. And then if you're the first one to type them into the live chat, if the leaders want to award you one of those packs of double eye needles, I'll leave that up to them. Otherwise, you can just demonstrate how smart you are. So what year was the PFAFF Sewing Machine Company founded? What year was the PFAFF Sewing Machine Company founded? And the second part of that question is, what other company was founded in the same year? What other sewing machine company was founded in? Wait, let me revise that. Let's go with question one. Take away question two. I was thinking of a different machine. Sorry about that. So what year was the PFAFF Sewing Machine Company founded? And what year did they first roll out? What year did they first roll out the Class 130 PFAFF machine? That, again, for them was revolutionary because it was really the first practical zigzag sewing machine that they ever offered. It was the first practical zigzag sewing machine that PFAFF ever offered. What year was it offered? And as a bonus, to demonstrate how smart you are, in that same year that the 130 came on the scene for PFAFF, there was another iconic machine with another sewing machine company that came on the scene that very same year. And you've seen this other machine on this channel multiple times. So again, back to the questions, so I get it right. I'm relatively clear. What year was the PFAFF Sewing Machine Company founded? What year did they establish the Class 130 model? When did it come on the scene? And in that same year that the Class 130 came on the scene, another iconic sewing machine from a different sewing machine manufacturer also came on the scene. And if you can name that machine, it's a special feather in your hat, because a lot of people won't remember that. A lot of people won't remember that, but you can share your knowledge when you step out into your circles and you demonstrate how smart you are because you're part of this classroom. You demonstrate how smart you are. Okay, so I've said all my good mornings, I believe. I think mornings. And I'm looking at some initial. See here. So it looks like, unless I missed one, it looks like Bill jumped out there fast and furious and ventured a guess already. And let's see here. It looks like Bill put down 1930 and the Singer 201. And that's part of what I was looking for. Unfortunately, Bill, unfortunately, that is incorrect. Unfortunately, that is incorrect. The year, neither the year that the PFAFF sewing machine company was established, nor the year that the Class 130 was introduced, was in 1930. And the other machine that I'm looking for that was introduced in the same year as the Class 130 is not the 201. It is not the 201, the Rolls Royce of Singers. And a wild guess is totally cool. As Susie has said numerous times, there's no judgment. There's no judgment. I have the deepest respect for anyone. I have the deepest respect for anyone that is willing to step out there and toss out a guess without fear of reprisals, without fear of judgment. We're part of the same family here, and we are all learning together. We're all learning together. I would love to tell you that I am all knowing, I'm omniscient, and anything to do with sewing, just ask me and I'll give you the answer just like that. Some of that is true, but a lot of that is not true. My dad used to say, if you ever meet somebody that tells you that they know everything, you should run away real quick because they're obviously not telling you the truth. And we constantly are learning together and learning from each other. And that is the beauty of this classroom. We share the roles of fellow teacher, fellow student, fellow teacher, fellow student. So kudos to Bill for stepping out there and taking a swing at it. I think that's totally awesome. Teresa is jumping out there. Teresa's jumping out there, and she put in the date 1862 and 1932. 1862 and 1932. Now, I think I know what she means by those answers, but Teresa, clarify what those dates are attached to. In other words, when you say 1862, what is that? Is that when this machine was introduced? Is it when they developed the first stadium hot dog that keeps getting thrown? They keep throwing at the movie screens that Mike has to go in. Clarify your answers. I know what you mean, dear, but for the record, just type the two dates, clarify what they signify. And I can tell you that your third part of the answer, as far as the featherweight, is not correct. The featherweight was you're really close. You're really close. The featherweight was introduced at the Chicago World's Fair a year later in 1933, and that Chicago World's that had the theme Century of Progress ran from 1933 to 1934. So Teresa's answer is because I had not even thought as I asked that particular machine, but it is so close. It just by probably less than a year, the featherweight came on the scene in 1933, and but you're really close on that answer. Really close. And it's not the 401 either. Um, the 401 is part of the Slant-O-Matic series, and the Slant-O-Matic series as most of you know, was first introduced in 1951. So much later than the date that I would be looking for. Specifically, the 401A that was made in Anderson, South Carolina, was not actually made until 1956. The 401A was made in 1956, and they made it until 1961. So I'm looking for a machine that would have come on the scene literally decades earlier than the 401 and slightly earlier than the featherweight. So we'll see if you can nail it. And I'll tell you that one of the answers was really close, not as far as the machine, but a machine that I oftentimes associate with the machine that I'm looking for you to provide the answer for. And you know what? I'm looking at the answers now, and Emma and Christine, two of my leaders on my team, uh, look at the answers that Emma and Christine provided, because they are spot on. They are absolutely spot on. Singer introduced the 1591, that potted version that's a 3/4 size machine, compared to, I believe it was Bill that pointed at the 201 as a possibility. The 201 I refer to as the big brother to the 1591, because they're both similar in their, well, they're both similar in their design, even though they've got different hook systems, and they've got that shared potted motor design with direct drive. But the 1591 is an oscillating hook system. The 201 is a rotary hook system, and the 201 came out 3 years after the 1591, right around 1935. And so, incredible answers that all of you provided. All of you provided excellent answers. But the correct answer is, as Christine and Emma typed it, as far as the dating of the inception of PFAFF, the inception of this model, and then ultimately the model came out also in 1932 with the Class 130, and that was none other than the little brother to the Rolls Royce of Singer sewing machines, the little brother being the Singer 15-91. Really, I called it an iconic machine, and I think it is. It's going to have the same size motor as the 201, but it's going to be a compact version of it. It's going to be 3/4 size. Plus, in my opinion, the 1591, if you're looking to do heavy duty sewing and sewing with a heavier type thread, the 1591 is hard to beat. It's got the direct drive, gear to gear drive, positive traction because of that potted motor design. And then it's got that oscillating hook system, which is going to be able to manage that heavier thread much easier than the 201. You can run considerably heavier thread in a Singer 1591 than you can a 201, because that hook system on the 1591 is oscillating. That one is having to draw that thread like this, and it tends to cause issues with that thread getting caught in the raceway. So, yeah, great job, everybody. Great answers, and I'll leave it up to the leaders if there was anyone that really kind of stood out and taking a swing at those answers that I was looking for. Then let me know that, and I want to acknowledge them by, maybe sending them something anyway. Even if they didn't get all the answers right, they gave it a go. So we'll see. We'll see what they say. Yeah. Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? Okay, I think that's probably enough of sewing trivia and that sort of thing. And I'm glad all of you enjoy that. I think the reason that we have a growing family, both on YouTube and on Facebook, is because it's an environment that people find to be fun. They find it engaging, and they also find it valuable. They find it valuable so that when they step back out into their circles, whether it's on a different platform or Facebook or wherever, they step away with additional tools in their toolbox that they can then plug in to the work that they're doing on their machines. Or I've got a lot of people that follow my work as well that are fellow sewing machine restorers. And I've been told by a number of them that the reason that they stepped into doing what they're doing is because they were inspired through some of the videos or the different things that I've done in this space since I've been doing it now 20, 23, 24 years, something like that. So it's great. It's great that we're growing. It's great that people are having fun. Sewing traditionally, when people look at it, it doesn't look like a type of activity that people would walk away giggling and saying that was cool, that was fun. But we do funny stuff and we share funny stories and we share information, and it makes it a place that you look forward to it. If you ever had a favorite teacher in school, and where other kids would dread having to go back to school after summer break, you're excited to get back there because you know you're going to have that teacher that makes learning so much fun. So much fun, right? Learning, when it can be fun, it doesn't feel like learning. It just feels like you're a little sponge and you're absorbing new things. And that's what I'm hoping this classroom would bring. And I don't do it alone. I do it through all of you, and particularly the leaders that are part of this live stream that do such an excellent job of taking care of the family while I'm busy over here talking about the machine that we're learning about and that we're presenting. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the leaders. Let's get into this PFAFF 130-6 and check this out. And at the same time, keep in mind that if you're looking to add a Western Germany machine to your collection, you can reach out, let me know that, and we'll talk terms as far as getting this PFAFF 130-6 safely shipped to you anywhere in the world. And then Mike will have one less machine so he can buy one more machine. That's why I look at it. If you sell a machine, then you can buy one more machine to fill that empty spot, because empty spots, they're not good. They're not good at all. And sewing machines are so much cheaper than therapy, and the therapeutic benefits of sewing, they're absolutely proven. So keep buying sewing machines. And as you saw recently, maybe on my post on Facebook, the majority of sewing machines are going to be absolutely safe when it comes to risks of asbestos. I think that there was a little bit of a plot with some of the new manufacturers that are selling the machines, in many cases that are disposable, trying to post articles and other things like that to get people fearful about stepping into the vintage space because, oh my gosh, my sewing machine might have asbestos. But as I shared in that article in depth, sewing machines are probably one of the safest hobbies or passions that you can pursue without the risk of any negative consequences. And so keep collecting, keep buying. And if you sell a machine like Mike is hoping to do with his other 130, buy another one. Duh. Buy another one. Okay. Let me get a sip of Diet Coke and let's get into this. And I'll leave this machine here just so you can admire it while we're going through the sewing process. And whenever I offer a machine that's been serviced in the workshop, I didn't specifically mention this, but I'll mention it now. Whenever I've gone through a machine and I have been the presenter, in a sense, I'm the one that's offering it for sale, even though this belongs to Mike. I add a limited lifetime warranty. And I say limited because if you throw it off of your balcony, even though it's Western Germany engineering and it's built like a tank, you shouldn't be throwing your sewing machines off of the balcony 2 or 3 stories down. Don't do that. Your warranty will be voided. don't neglect it. Take regular servicing on it, maintain the machine properly. But apart from neglect or abuse, I'm going to warranty this machine that I'm selling on behalf of Mike, Movie Mike. I'm going to be offering a limited lifetime warranty on this machine as well. So if that's not an incentive to scoop it up, then I'll be a little bit surprised. And again, you can reach out whenever it's convenient for you during the live stream, after the live stream. Otherwise, Mike is going to pick up both of these machines next week, take them back to Illinois, and then he'll pursue his own path outside of the cow country family in offering this machine for sale once it's gotten a full dose of workshop magic and it's stitching up a storm like you're going to see this one is. Again, whatever you see this machine do, imagine that equally as good, maybe even a little bit more from this machine over here. So let me talk about setup for us today. What we're going to be sewing as far as setup. I've got my go-to, and actually the label came off, so you can't tell. It's incognito sewing thread, but it's that Coates and Clark dual duty XP thread. I buy 3 of these on the weekend from Joann's, formerly known Joann Fabrics. I buy 3 of these and I get 2 free. And because I go through so much thread, I always try to take advantage of Joann's sales on the weekend so I can walk onto there with 5 spools of thread, whether it's the Coates and Clark or whether it's a Gutermann thread or any of the other threads that are out there. I try to step out there and take advantage of the sales and keep my thread supply stocked up. So when I ship a machine, generally, I always send it threaded with a spool of thread, full bobbin, the whole shebang. So, all right, just got a text message. That's Emma's notification. Let me see what she typed. And if you didn't know it, we didn't talk about this specifically. I'll just mention it really fast. I'll mention it really fast for sake of adding more knowledge to the equation of this great maker of sewing machines from Western Germany, the PFAFF Sewing Machine Company, as all of you pointed out now, and all of you know now, was established right around 1862. But it was founded by George Michael PFAFF. I think I've said Michael PFAFF before, and I got contacted by a couple of people from Germany, including my good friend Robert, who sent me this cool postcard of Hamburg, Germany. And he said, you're saying his name wrong. It's not Michael, it's Michael or something like that. I probably got it wrong again. I'll be getting more notes after the live stream from my friends over in Germany. But he actually started as a musical instrument maker. That was what his trades work was, working with musical instruments. And then he stepped into doing sewing machines probably right around 1885 was his first practical sewing machine that was designed to sew leather and specifically make leather shoes, is how the founder, Michael PFAFF, it is. This dude that founded PFAFF, he made his first practical sewing machine right around 1885, and it was a machine specifically designed to do leather sewing and to make shoes. So I wanted to share that as well. Ultimately, he had offices in the area near our friend Alex Askroff and his lovely wife over there in the UK, in London. PFAFF also had offices in London also. Okay, let me see what the message is. Almost there. Okay, and this message from Emma is basically saying she supports sending a pack of needles to Bill and Teresa because they, she writes, should get the needle prize for stepping out and making a guess. So if the other leaders support that, me sending a pack of the double eye needles to Bill in Minnesota and Teresa as well. If you'll just voice that opinion in the live stream, or send me a text if you prefer that you support that, then I'll go ahead and invite. If all the leaders are in support of that, I'll invite Bill to reach out with his contact information, Teresa as well, and I'll get a pack of those double eye needles heading off to uh, these two excellent individuals who are saying, no fear, kind of like Candido says all the time. I'm going to jump out there, even if I don't get the answers right. At least I've stepped out there and I've said I'm going to give it a go. And I agree. I think that's a great idea. But anyway, the other leaders can voice an opinion, and if they support Emma's idea of sending needles to Bill and Teresa, type it in the live chat, send me a private note, whatever y'all want to do, and I'll go ahead and make that happen once I have their address information. I just got a note from Christine from Canada, and a note from Susie as well. They both support it. So that's two leaders. I think Candido is in the live stream as well. And I would be surprised if Candido opposes it. But if Candido wants to either type in the live chat or send a quick note as well, along with Jenny. I didn't see Jenny. Maybe I missed it. I don't think I saw Jenny, our ambassador for needles, in the live stream today. She must be tied up in something else, unless she joined later after I made my initial perusal of the live chat. If she's in there now, then welcome to Jenny. But I don't think she was there when I went through the first time. So it looks like the preponderance of the leaders support sending the needles to Bill and Teresa. So I know Bill and Teresa both have my direct cell phone number. So just text me your address. I know I have it somewhere around here, but I've got so much going on right now. Just send me your address if you would be so kind, and I will get a pack of those double eye needles heading off to you, so you can continue to explore that area. And if you have success like Teresa did, share some pictures so that we can support our friends at Schmetz Needles that follow us on Facebook. They follow us on YouTube, and see if we can't get people interested in pursuing those new double eye needles and get their sales bumping up a little bit, because I think sales are not doing so well with that particular needle right now. So, all right, blah, 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 blah. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. So as I was beginning, Coates and Clark dual duty XP on Mike's primary machine. And the needle I have in there right now, if you remember Sunny, which most of you remember Sunny, her given name, her real name was actually Susan, or I believe that Craig, her fiance, referred to her as Susie. What a sweet gal. And again, on this channel, underneath the playlist of VIP interviews, if you want to put a face and a spirit to the name Sunny, then check out that playlist, and you'll find the interview I did with Sunny a number of years ago, and you really get a feeling for who she is, because to me, she's still alive and well as part of the Cow Country family. We can't see her anymore, but I know that she still is a part of the family. And so in her honor today, I'm going to be using a harpoon needle on this PFAFF 130-6. Camera eventually will focus, hopefully. There it is. I'm going to be using a harpoon needle in Sunny's honor, and it's going to be a size 18, which equates to a size 110 leather needle. So we're going to be sewing with a harpoon leather needle today, and that's part of the reason some of the setup I have as far as sew-offs is going to be more heavily concentrated on the leather side than anything else. And I just realized I actually forgot to cut some of the velvet. I might do that real quick. I might cut some velvet real quick. But we're going to be sewing with a really, really meaty size needle. And I always think because she was the one that kind of coined the phrase harpoon needle when we get into the size 16 100s or the size 18 110s. She always called those harpoon needles. So, all right, Herr Obermeister. Again, if you're new to this channel and you're going, who is this little guy right here? Herr Obermeister represents the German sewing machine brands. Uh, he is always proud to represent the PFAFF sewing machines. He's represented a number of other German machines as well that I've shown on this channel. And so that's who this little guy is. I'm going to move him to a safe spot and see if we can't get into this machine and begin putting it to work. So I'm going to turn the light on first of all. And then I'm going to show you the sew-offs and see if there's any strong opinions. I know Mike is busy out in Seattle right now cleaning movie screens. So I know our owner can't be here with us today. But these are some of the sew-offs that I have prepped. I'm going to let you look at those. And then I'm also going to cut a piece of velvet real quick and add that to the mix of materials that we can try sewing on this model 130-6 today. Okay? So let me see here. While I'm doing this little interlude, see if we can quickly put on a little bit of German polka music for you to enjoy. There it is. I think I have the volume turned down right now. All right, I'm going to stop the music. That music, it's supposed to be polka music, that last song that I just stopped, but it always makes me think of the Wild West, maybe like caravan of settlers moving to a new promised location where they're going to do farming and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know. YouTube, I think, does generally a good job of classifying music, but sometimes I just think they totally miss it. They totally miss it. All right, let's see what folks are saying as far as material. Let's see. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Christine wrote above. I just quickly looked at the chat, and a lot of congratulatory statements being given to Bill and Teresa rightfully. And Teresa apparently really enjoys the double line needles, which is awesome. And Christine mentioned from Canada, she said, I didn't know they had the double eye needle thingies. But yeah, they started with the twin needles. I don't know if I have an example of those anywhere. Let's see here. I've got so many needles, I sometimes have trouble finding where they might be. Yeah, I probably won't be able to find them right now. But yeah, they have the twin needles, and now they've introduced these double eye needles, which are kind of cool, as an alternative for folks that want to. Oh, here they are. Wait, that's the wrong one. I'm dropping needles all over the place. At any rate, you can Google double eye needles, twin needles, and see how different they are. They really are quite different. They end up doing similar things, don't they? They end up doing several similar things. So, okay, so I didn't see if there was a strong. Let's see, denim. Okay, so Candido and Susie, it looks like, are voting for denim. Let's do denim then. And I've got two sections of denim here that Emma had picked up at a thrift shop and sent it to me from Florida. She said there was a special weighting on this denim, which makes it heavier than normal heavy duty denim or something like that. I don't remember what Emma shared, but if Emma wants to share, maybe it was some sort of a weight classification for this denim, but apparently it's pretty hardcore denim. It's hardcore denim. And I shared with, I believe it was, I shared it with Emma last night that I decided I wanted to goof around with this denim. We've done 6 layers of this, and I was curious if I could successfully do 8 layers of this special weighted denim stuff that Emma sent me from Florida. And I was able to do 8 layers last night. Again, I've got a harpoon needle, so I'm pretty confident about the needle. I'm even more confident about the machine. So I'm going to try to duplicate that again. What I did last night is I was going through the final steps of verification on this machine, and we'll see if we can't do 8 layers of this special heavy duty denim that Emma found at a thrift shop. Oh yeah, I just saw Jenny. Jenny just popped in. Welcome to Jenny, our ambassador for needles. And it's always great to have Jenny here as well. Okay, so let's do this. Let's see if we can do 8 layers of this denim. I was able to do it last night. I'm hoping I can do it again. And I was just goofing around with some leather last night. It's just a single layer of saddle grade leather. We'll be sewing more of this today, obviously. Okay, so let's put this over there. And now I'm going to practice my folding skills. So let's see, 2 layers. That's 4 layers. And we'll fold it one more time. That should give us 8 layers, right? I think I did 8 layers last night. Maybe not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I remember last night when I tried to get this underneath the presser foot, it was snug as a bug. And I right away was concerned that I wouldn't be getting proper feed when I did it. Well, you can see why it would be tight on the underneath the presser foot, even though the 130 models have some really good presser foot clearance. You can see that when you're dealing with that much denim, you're talking about crazy, crazy thick. You can see it from the end as well. So I'm going to try to duplicate what I did last night. Again, when you're underneath the bright lights and the cameras, it's sometimes a little bit more tricky to do it. You have to kind of wiggle it a little bit underneath there to get it into position. Almost got it. And I could lay down a straight stitch on this, but I'm going to lay down a zigzag because a zigzag is even tougher to execute when you're talking about going through something as thick as this. Okay, I think I've got it in position. And the PFAFF 130 models, again, introduced in 1932, do not have a hyperextension. So what you have is what you have. The only way you can increase the clearance is by dropping the feed dogs. And apart from that, like a lot of the machines, you can push up on the presser foot lever and get a little bit more clearance. The 130s don't allow you to do that. So I'm going to get that into position. I'm also going to bump up my presser foot pressure just a little bit higher. Get that bumped up a little bit higher. And you know what, real quick, just so we've done it, so we can say we've done it. I'm going to walk you around the machine real quick. So I was talking about to get more clearance if you're dealing with a sew-off as crazy thick as this. 8 layers of heavy grade denim. You can drop the feed dogs temporarily. You just turn this knob to the right clockwise. It'll drop the feed dogs, and then you turn it back counterclockwise to pop the feed dogs back up again. This is for bobbin winding right here. So bobbin winding, you're going to come off of one of these two spools. You're going to thread it the same way pretty much. You're going to come underneath this thread guide right there, over the top of this tensioner, and then you're going to come straight across the front of the machine to this tensioner right here, and then straight up to the bobbin. And then to engage it, you're just going to push this down like that, and disengage your clutch on the end, obviously, and then go ahead and wind your bobbin. And then it should pretty much disengage automatically. These are probably about 80% of the time they work as intended. Other times they don't. On the stitch length on the 130 models, the longest stitch, which is going to be right around 5 stitches per inch, is going to be all the way at the very top of this stitch length control setting area. As you move down, it's going to graduate smaller and smaller to where you're going to get down in the fine range to right around 30 stitches per inch. And then if you drop below that, you're going to be sewing in reverse. And the PFAFF does allow you to sew with a graduated stitch in reverse. In other words, the further you move this down, the longer that stitch in reverse is going to get. Not all machines will do that. They'll have a preset stitch length, usually around 10 to 12 stitches per inch when you're back tacking, and you're not able to specify the length of that stitch in reverse. On the 130 classes, you can do that. So you can move it all the way down to the bottom for that longest stitch in reverse. This control right here does a couple of things. It's stitch width. When we have it all the way to the right at 0, we're going to be sewing a straight stitch. As we move it to the left, all the way up to 4 potentially, we're going to be sewing the widest zigzag that we can sew. And then this allows us to set boundaries for buttonholes primarily. If we're going to be doing that, it'll kind of retard or restrict the scope of the stitch width that we can set the machine at. And then finally, this control right here is needle position. If you push it all the way down, I'll try to do that with my left hand maybe. You push it all the way down. Let me move this back. Push it all the way down. It's going to give you a right needle position, and that's position 3. You move it all the way to the top. You're going to have a far left needle position,
and that's going to be position 1. And the reason I'm telling you position 1 versus position 3, if your 130-6 happens to have that coffee grinder or that embroidery kit on the back of it, you're going to need to know the needle position for the machine, whether it's all the way to the top in position 1, whether it's a center needle position, which as you're setting decorative stitching on the ones that have the embroidery kit is position 2, or if it's pushing this in and down for a far right needle position, which for setting it for decorative stitching, if you have that embroidery kit, is going to be position 3. So position 3 is a far right needle position. Position 2 is a center needle position. And then moving this all the way to the top is a far left needle position, and that's going to be position 1. Again, you need to know that if your machine has that embroidery kit, because that's one of the settings that you'll have to make. And I've demonstrated that numerous times on this channel with the model 130-6s that have that embroidery kit function on them. What else? Threading the machine. You can come off of either spool pin. You come underneath this thread guide right here, over the top of this tensioner, down through here, around the tension discs. And again, make sure your pressure foot lever is in the up position so that there's no pressure and there's no tension on those discs, so you can draw that thread all the way in. Then you come over the top, and you come over the top in the center of that take-up spring. You can kind of see it right there. Then you're going to come underneath this thread guide. Then you bring the thread behind this thread guide right here. You have to kind of bring it around the back and get it into that little slot. You thread the take-up arm from right to left. Another thread guide on the faceplate right there. And then you finally come down to here. There's a thread guide just above the needle. And then you're going to be threading this needle from front to back. And the flat side of the needle is going to be on the back, which is the same size, same side as the scarf, which tells you on this rotary hook machine that that hook is going to be passing by the back of that needle, grabbing the thread in the sewing process, so that it will complete that stitch for you. The hook, again, as it's passing by that scarf, the scarf is that indentation into that needle anatomy structure. It's like a cut in. It almost looks like a little cut out on the back of the needle, the same side as the flat side. It allows that hook to pass closer to the needle and grab that thread to complete the stitch. That's what happens very quickly. And I've demonstrated that before on live streams, kind of what that looks like. What else? That's about it, isn't it? Oh, one other thing to show you. This is a fine adjuster right here for the upper tension. This fine adjuster gives you a special control over the outcome for the, particularly for the lock stitching. Lock stitching, especially when you're going through 8 layers of denim like this, lock stitching can be a problem. Even if you turn up the upper tension, it can still be a problem because this take-up spring, this check spring, is part of what tightens up that stitch on the bottom of the material. As this is going up and down in the sewing process, it's pulling that thread taut so that you get a nicer defined lock stitch. It's working in concert as part of the upper tension unit. But sometimes that's not enough. So PFAFF, being the geniuses that they are, came up with this fine adjuster that's going to give you a larger range of motion on that let me slow down. It's going to give you a wider range of motion on that check take-up spring, so that if you're going to be sewing heavier materials, you want this take-up spring, this check spring, to pull harder so that you have a greater likelihood of not having a loose lock stitch. Now, when this is all the way in the upper position right here, where you can see it right now, you're going to be sewing lighter materials. You might be sewing velvet, you might be sewing silk, you might be sewing satin, you might be sewing a light layer of cotton. You can get away with moving this into the upper position, which is going to limit the range of motion for that check spring a little bit more, which means it's going to be pulling less and it's going to be pulling less hard. But when we're going into a sew off like this with 8 layers of denim, we need all the help we can get. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this fine adjuster to give us a boost in upper tension. We're going to be pushing it down from where it's at right now with a 3 o'clock position. We're going to be pushing it down more to the 6 o'clock position like this. Just push it down, right about to there. And what that's going to do now is it's going to allow that check spring to have a larger range of motion and to pull harder on that thread to tighten up that lock stitch a little bit more on a sew off that's going to be as crazy thick as this. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. So let's give this a go and see how we do. Off camera, I did just fine. I'm hoping I have the same results now. But you never know in a live stream, right? You just never know. All right, a quick little swig of soda. There we go. See if I can get reasonably close. Okay, so keep your fingers and toes crossed that I have success like I did last night without the bright lights focused on me. Make sure I put my presser foot lever all the way down. And again, we did bump up the presser foot pressure just slightly. So, all right, here we go. And I'm going to be doing the widest and the longest zigzag that this 130-6 can do. You can see right now I've got this set all the way on 4. I have it set on 4 now. Setting it all the way on 4, and I've got this set on 5 as far as the stitch length. Oh, you know what else I need to do real quick? I just realized. Hold on real quick. I've got to get my needle position correct. I had shown you the needle position settings, far right, far left, and I need to move this back to a center needle position so I can get that zigzagging like it's supposed to. Okay, so that's our center needle position. Now I'm going to move my stitch width all the way back to 4, and let's give this a go. I'm a little bit nervous just because 8 layers of denim, especially this denim that Emma got from Florida, which is a special weighted denim. It's even heavier than normal denim. This is no joke, not even with a harpoon needle. It's no joke. All right, so here we go. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the best. The other thing I better do before I launch, look at where my take-up arm is right now. It's all the way at the lowest position. I've got to correct that and bring this all the way up. Bring that all the way up. Okay, here we go. Little bit nervous, but I'm hoping we'll have success like I did last night. All right, here we go. I was nervous about not having enough gas, and I actually spun the pulley a little bit on the motor. Oh, wow. Wait until you see this. I shouldn't be amazed because I know how much time I spent on Mike's machine, but I still am amazed because this is a ridiculously tough sew off. This many layers, we're talking a weighted denim. The advantage we have is we've got a monster needle and a monster machine. Unbelievable. Very, very nice. Let's look at that top stitch first. Look at that top stitch first, but I also want to show you the side. That's what 8 layers of denim looks like. Weighted denim, not just regular denim. And again, Emma can maybe explain because she included that with the note telling me that it was even a heavier denim than usual. I can't remember what she said, 20 weight or something like that. Almost like sounds like an oil. So this is our top stitching. We'll look at that first, and then we'll move to the lock stitching right after that. And our camera's having a little bit of trouble. Let me see if I can adjust it up a little bit more. I'll try it like this, see if that helps it. So this is our zigzagging going down. Kind of check that out. Absolutely a page 34 plus zigzag on this top stitching. Absolutely page 34 plus. And page 34, if you're not familiar with that, because you're new to the channel, that means a near perfect stitch. I don't believe there's no such thing as a perfect stitch. It can always be better, either by changing presser feet, a different needle type, maybe a different thread type. Workshop magic obviously plays into the equation. Beautiful, beautiful zigzag. And again, look at what we went through. Eight layers of denim. If you think that's easy, give it a try. Give it a try on your machine. That is serious heavy duty sewing. All right, now our lock stitching. Our lock stitching across the back. Again, this is the area that you're most concerned about because that needle has to sweep down through these 8 layers of weighted denim and pull that thread back through. So there's all kinds of possibilities for something to go wrong. But this PFAFF 130-6 that belongs to Mike out of Illinois, it just made it look downright easy. Just made it look downright easy. So there's our lock stitch, our top stitch, and that is what 8 layers of weighted heavy-duty denim look like. This is why I'm saying if you want a workhorse machine that can take on the heavy task and you want to preserve your other machines for different projects that aren't quite at that level, you're hard-pressed to find a better machine to do it than a PFAFF 130-6. They are just an incredible workhorse machine that can sew 8 layers of denim like it's a light cotton. 8 layers of denim like it's a light cotton. Crazy, crazy. All right, what do y'all want to see next? Let's move to some of the other materials now. Some of the other materials we have, I'm going to throw this one to the back between the two machines. And I'll describe what they are because you might not readily recognize them, or maybe you do. We've got 100% cotton with a stiffener back here. These I'm going to save for the last part of the live stream where I kind of go around in a circle, around. This is saddle grade leather and then protected full grain leather. I've also got this towing strap. This towing strap, one layer of it is rated at 2,000 pounds. So I thought it would be fun to stitch through 2 layers of this to give it a total towing value of around 4,000 pounds. This stuff is super hardcore, and I haven't stitched this in a real long time, so I wanted to try to demonstrate it today, this towing strap material. So I've got that. I've got the bubblegum material. Again, this is saddle grade right here, saddle grade leather. This stuff here. I've got protected full grain leather. And then I just got done cutting some of this velvet. This is the Christmas style holiday velvet that you put around, for the skirt of the tree, or maybe some of this on stockings, or however you would use it. It's just a beautiful festive type material that always makes me think of Christmas and time, when I was a child with family, extended family, all that sort of thing. So this is our pool of things to draw from. So I'll look at the live chat, see if anyone is voicing an opinion. Otherwise, I'll just grab something and try stitching it off. Hello to Tim as well. Looks like Tim kind of joined us a little bit late. Hopefully Tim got a late pass from one of the leaders, because I think Tim showed up to the class a little bit after the bell was rung. And that's real easy to do. You just reach out and say, hey, can I have a late pass? And one of the leaders will bestow you with a late pass, so you don't have to go to, you have and clean the chalkboard or something. All right, seems like we're getting a vote. Seems like we're getting a strong vote for leather. We're getting a strong vote for leather. So let's see what we can do with some leather. Let's see what we can do with some leather. And since it wasn't specified, I will start. Let's see here. Kind of contemplating if I should be this crazy. I usually do one or two layers of the saddle gray leather, but I've got 3 layers cut. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about stitching 2 layers together and then trying to add a third. That might be too much. With our setup, even though we've got a really nice leather needle, a large leather needle, with our setup and our thread and stuff, that might be too much, but I'm willing to give it a try. So I think we'll launch into that. We'll do the saddle gray leather. We'll do 2 layers of that. 2 layers of saddle gray leather, the way these pieces are cut at least, is going to be right around 6 ounces of leather. I'll see if I can show it to you from the side. Kind of pinch it together. There it is. So 2 layers of saddle grade leather is not a joke any more than our 8 layers of heavy grade denim is a joke. But then we're going to try to see if we can add 1 more layer of saddle grade so that on these Western Germany engineered workhorses, I can demonstrate some really high level sewing with 3 layers potentially of saddle grade leather, which is going to get us up to about almost 12 ounces of leather. This is what the 3 layers will look like. Assuming I can get through it. That's what 3 layers of saddle grade leather look like. And saddle grade, if you're not really familiar with leather, a lot of people aren't. I know I originally was not knowledgeable about leather at all, and I still have so much to learn about leather. But saddle grade leather is real popular for outdoorsy stuff. If you have horses like Christine does up in Canada, Christine might have some of her implements, her equestrian implements, made out of a leather similar to this. It's real popular when you're working with equestrian. I hope I'm saying that right. Horse stuff. And it's also used for wallets. It's used for gun holsters. It's used for just a variety of different applications that are going to require a lot of durability. So it's hardcore stuff. We're going to start with 2 layers and then see if we can jump up to 3 layers. You know what? I could even do it more fun. I could start with 1 layer, 2 layers, and then 3 layers, but I think that might be wasting time because I think this machine is ready to get it done. I'm going to check our time real quick. What do you all think? Should we do 1, 2, 3? Should we do 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers? Or should we just go 2 layers and then jump right to 3 layers? Let's see what y'all are thinking. I like drama. I studied drama a little bit in college. So I'm always up for, let's build a little bit more suspense. I think that would be fun. People like suspenseful events, and then they see victory at the end. They're like, yeah, baby. But I'll leave it up to you all. If you want us just to go 2, 3, we'll do that, or we can do 1, 2, 3. So let's see what y'all are saying. Susie granted a late pass to Tim. God bless her. Don't want to leave Tim hanging. And obviously, this is something we do for fun. This is something we do for fun, to make it feel like a classroom setting. Generally, if you're in a classroom setting and you show up late, there's some question as to why you're late. And so, to build that fun and that theme into our classroom, that's why I say if you're late to class, if you're here after the bell rings, then go to one of the leaders and get a late pass. And they're always very kind and very generous about handing them out. So, okay, so it looks like we're 3 layers, please. No fear. Candido wants us to jump right to 3 instead of going 2-3. So we're at a little bit of a quandary. We're at a little bit of a quandary right now. Do we just jump right to 3, or do we do 2 and then add that third layer? I'm going to lean towards Emma on this one. And say, let's do the 2, and we'll do them back to back like this, so we can see that stitch quality even with greater clarity. And then we're going to add the third layer. I did not, as a quick disclaimer, I did not try 3 layers of saddle gray leather on this 130-6. I know it's capable of doing it, but again, there are sometimes adjustments that have to be made when you're stepping up to that level of leather sewing, even when you're using a leather needle. So we're going to give it a go. We'll do the 2 layers, then we'll add the third layer after we look at the stitching on the 2 layers. Again, the 2 layers is no joke. You're still talking about 6 ounces of leather, 6 to 8 ounces of leather. And then as we add that third layer, and remember again, when they're cutting leather from the hide of the animal, the thickness is going to vary through the hide. In other words, if you cut, what is this, about a 5-inch piece or something like that, when you cut a 5-inch piece from the left side of the hide, and then you cut a 5-inch piece from the right side of the hide, they may be different by up to 2 millimeters. So not all of these pieces are exactly the same thickness. And that's where the suspense comes even more, because as we add more and more layers, that variant thickness is going to change quite a bit. So we'll start with the 2, and then we'll add this third layer that'll be waiting in the wings, and we'll see how this 130-6 does. And I think I'll lay down a straight stitch and also a zigzag. I'll lay down a straight stitch and a zigzag on the 2 layers, and then we'll kind of look, and I might lay down the zigzag on the 3 layers, because that's going to make it tougher. That's going to make it even tougher. All right, let me get this into position. I'm going to adjust this so we're back to a straight stitch. And I just heard a notification from Susie from Minnesota. Let me see what our text message is here. Oh, okay. Tim wants to try a combination of leather and denim. This is from Emma. Let me see what Emma wrote here. So a leather and a combo, that's kind of interesting. I may have to cut a little bit more leather to do that. And does Tim have a preference? I think I've got more saddle grade that I can get to very easily. So why don't I combine denim with saddle grade leather? We'll try combining saddle grade leather and denim together. I'll do that after I get through these sew-offs, and then we'll give that a go. And then Susie wrote, I think, something similar in her note as well. Tim was suggesting 1 layer of leather and 1 layer of denim. I don't know if that's going to be a big enough challenge for this machine, Tim, to be honest with you. So when we get to the combination of leather and denim, I might exercise a little bit of discretion in bumping it up a little bit higher than 1 and 1. We might do, I don't know, we might do 1 and 3. In other words, 3 layers of denim and 1 layer of leather. We might do leather on either side of the denim. and then maybe 2 layers of denim in between, kind of sandwich it, leather, denim, leather. But I'd like to keep the stakes high on this so that people that watch this later as a video are going to be like, holy crap, how did he do that? And they say that all the time about our videos already. I get contacted, people know this, and people that have worked on Facebook and otherwise know that we get notes from around the world with people with a 130-6 that can't sew anything close to what Mike's machine is doing today. So I always like to push the boundaries as far as we can push them. And so we'll push it further than 1 and 1. We'll probably go 1 and 2 or 2 and 4 or something like that, just to make it even more fun. But a great suggestion by Tim, combining a weighted denim and leather as well. I think that's really a cool idea. Really a cool idea. Okay, just checking something real quick. I just lost my Kleenex for wiping my glasses off. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay, let's put the phone to the side. We're going to start with 2 layers, which we're already set up for. And we're going to add that 3rd layer of saddle gray leather, which is going to get us pretty close to 12 ounces of leather. And then we're going to, since I think it's an inspired thought, then we're going to see if I can cut a little bit more leather real quick, because I want to save this leather until the end. We're going to combine some denim with some leather, which I think is a fun idea. All right, let me move the camera closer. We'll start with a straight stitch down these 2 layers of saddle gray. Again, I've done them back to back. And then we'll add that 3rd layer. I'll probably lay down a zigzag because that's going to be even tougher whenever you have needle involved and you've got those separation points where the needle is striking and that thread is just kind of hanging there. It really becomes a tension challenge, and we'll see if we can take that tension challenge on head on with that 3rd layer. Again, I didn't try it, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Okay, so let's start with 2 layers of saddle gray leather. Check my camera angle. Looks like we have a good camera angle right there. Is that better on or off? It's a little bit better with that light off, isn't it? I'll leave that light off for now, I think, and we'll buzz down these 2 layers of saddle gray leather. All right, here we go. And we're starting with a straight stitch, by the way. I think I mentioned that already, but straight stitch we'll start with. Oh, and I see what happened. Okay. I'll show you what happens when you give too much speed. You give too much speed to the sewing process. You could hear that motor kind of, I gave it too much gas. I was wanting to launch into it strong. And we ended up, what it allows it to do then is it kind of pushes past those feed dogs and it doesn't give us an even feed. And the result is then we get a stitch that is not going to be as full and it's going to be inconsistent. This is a feed factor. I'll show you what it looks like. We started pretty good and then I let it slip a little bit by giving it too much continued gas, and then it causes a compression of that stitch going across because of the feed. We still have a very interesting looking stitch, very, very good looking, but it's not the way we want it to look through these 2 layers of saddle gray leather. So we start over here. It's looking really good. And then watch what happens when those feed dogs are pushed too fast, too quickly. Saddle gray leather is a little slippery, and then that feed is slipping, and we're not getting a consistent turning of that material through the feed dogs. See what happens? So I'm going to try to do a better job the second time. I'll show you the backside as well. And I'm actually looking at that. I'm going to bump up the upper tension just a little bit. Our lock stitch on these 2 layers of saddle grade is looking a little bit loose. So we're going to tighten that up a little bit as well. And we're going to try a zigzag on the same material now. I'll try to regulate the speed just a little bit better. And if you're curious about the foot controller, I've talked about this in the recent live streams. I'm not a huge fan of electronic foot controllers. Electronic foot controllers are non-carbon based. They're really not even mechanical. They've got a small circuit board in here that as you depress the foot controller, it uses an electronic type impulse to tell the machine how fast to sew. Notoriously, when you're sewing with a larger motor that's on this PFAFF 130-6, which is a 1.3 amp motor, and this foot controller is rated for 1.4, it doesn't give you an even supply of electrical impulse to that motor so that you get a steady launch like you would with a traditional foot controller. It tends to almost, I hate to use the term vomit. But electronic foot controllers, when they're working with vintage motors, they tend to blah. And the result is you get exactly what we saw on this saddle gray leather, where you get an uneven feed of that material because that motor spins up too fast, and the feed dogs will allow that material to slip a little bit, and then you get an uneven distribution of power in how that material is feeding over the feed dogs and underneath the presser foot. You can work with these a little bit better if you use a roller foot or a walking foot, but I've said in recent live streams, and I'm going to continue to say, this is what the customer has, this is what I'm going to use, but I would much prefer a traditional PFAFF style mechanical foot controller over one of these. So, and again, it's technology. You know, no offense to our friends in Thailand, but this is technology generated out of Thailand, and it really is designed more for a contemporary machine that's not going to have this size of motor and this style of motor. The contemporary motors are going to be a lot more compressed as far as their size. They're not going to demand as much electricity, and they're not going to have as many components of that motor to turn. On a big PFAFF mechanical motor like this, you've got a lot of mechanics inside of that motor that have to be turned by electricity. And when you get that uneven flow of electricity, it can create issues, as we just witnessed. So we're going to try a zigzag now. I'm going to try to meter out that power as best as I can using that electronic foot controller. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, so let me get this turned back down. Now, real quick, I'm going to adjust our stitch width from 0 back to 4. We're going to go for a nice wide one, but I'm also going to adjust up my upper tension a little bit. And on this style of upper tension with these PFAFF 130 and 130-6s, there are no set boundaries. So you can turn this around and around and around and around to increase that tension to get a better defined lock stitch. And it's sometimes hard to find that sweet spot because it's not like saying, oh, whenever I sew at this level, I'm going to be using, you know, a setting of 5. On these, you can pass 5 several times before you go all the way to its maximum. So I'm just going to go probably a nice full turn like that to bump us up a little bit more. Also, I'm going to adjust our fine tuner down here a little bit higher, even more, because we're dealing with a super heavy sew off like these 2 layers of saddle grade. And now we're going to try to lay down a zigzag on top of this and see if I can I'm going to try to really hold that power back so that we get proper feed over the feed dogs without that electronic foot controller causing the motor to over rev. It's almost like you're sitting in your car in the wintertime and you're kind of revving that car up to get that heater to kick in sooner. This electronic foot controller has a tendency to over rev the motor, which can cause that material to slip down here. So I'll do my best to hold it back. But again, it is what it is. Okay. All right. Let me give it a go again and see what result we get. Take up arm all the way up. All right. Here we go. Laying down a zigzag, 2 layers of saddle grade leather, and see if we can get better consistency and clarity of the stitch as I try to hold this foot controller back a little bit from over revving the motor on the back. All right, here we go. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. You can hear it revving up, and that's the problem with the electronic foot controllers. That's a problem that everyone pretty much experiences. So I had a little bit of a slip right at the beginning, but then you could hear me kind of self-talking myself and saying, slow down, slow down, slow down. The other slight disadvantage I have, and I might remedy this before Mike picks up this 130-6, is I've got a plastic cog type belt on this machine right now. It's actually the one that came with the machine. I might change that out for a V-style belt as well, and that'll give us even more bite and traction on the back of this pulley system on this motor. You see the type of belt I have right now. The cog belts are nice on machines, but because these PFAFF motors spin up to about 7,000 RPMs, these can kind of slip on this pulley because the pulley's not cogged. It's a smooth round surface, and these teeth, almost like you talk about having better traction with your tire sometimes by letting the air out so that there's more tire surface on the road. The same thing is true with belts because you have the cog style belt, which has teeth that raise it up off of the pulley. Unless, and I even clean these pulleys before the live stream, unless you have a lot of control over that speed, these will tend to overspin the belt. And that's kind of what you hear as we're launching. The motor is revving up to that 7,000 RPMs, especially with this electronic foot controller. And the result is we're getting some spin, almost like when you're driving on snow or ice in the winter. If you're in that kind of climate, if you give the car too much gas, those tires will spin and you'll have less traction. The same thing is true here with the style of belt. And also we're marrying it with a foot controller that's electronic that is causing to over rev this motor. So just be aware of that. It's not your fault. It's not the machine's fault. It's the fact that we're using a belt that has less contact surface with that smooth pulley. And we're also dealing with a foot controller that's tending to over dispense that electricity too quickly to the motor. And it's causing the motor to over rev and to spin as we're trying to launch. So I can overcome one of those by looking at a replacement for the belt. The other part with the foot controller, it's the customer's preference, and I respect that. So we'll stick with that as best as we can. But let me show you what we did on this as far as the zigzag when I was really trying to slow that motor down with this foot controller that's over revving it. Okay, so our top stitch first. And again, you'll see a little bit of an anomaly because of that motor being over revved and it causing the material to kind of slide past those feed dogs quicker than they can grip it. But we had a much greater success laying down a tougher style of stitch with a zigzag than we did with that straight stitch on the first run. See if I can show that to you. except right here at the launch, where that motor was over revving and we had a little bit of slippage, even though our pressure foot pressure is quite high, it's still, if that motor engages it too fast, that material can slip past those feed dogs just slightly. And then you get a little bit of an anomaly where the stitch uh, width and the stitch presentation is going to look noticeably different than the other ones. And that's strictly a feed factor that is being complicated by uh, the pressure foot, excuse me, being complicated by um, the motor over revving because of the foot controller style right there on the end. Some beautiful stitching. And again, the feed factor can be overcome by using a different foot controller, a roller foot, a walking foot. And then also, I'm very likely going to be changing this belt out that is cogged to a traditional V-style belt before the machine is picked up. But all in all, a huge improvement over our first run with that straight stitch. Here's our lock stitch now. There's our little, that's our little slipping right now. Think about pushing the gas too much on wet snow and your tires spin. This is where our tires were spinning a little bit with that motor over revving with that electronic foot controller. And then I was able to, I was kind of self-talking myself, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. But you can only slow down so far as you're going through this much leather too, when you're sewing with a large needle like that. So I think all in all, we had some really good success, particularly when you compare it to our first run, laying down a straight stitch. Uh, the machine was doing the best it could with the setup that we gave it, with that foot controller and with the belt style on the motor. So our lock stitch and our top stitch. I'm going to give both of those a passing mark because we know exactly what we need to do to bring the quality of that stitch to even a higher level uh, through better, more consistent feed without that over revving factor. All right, now let's see if I can get some leather and we'll see if we can marry it to some denim for Tim. Tim wanted to see that. So I've already got some denim cut over here, an extra piece that I had. We'll see if we can do 2 layers of denim, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll stick some leather in between. And actually, I've got this piece of leather already, so that worked out quite nicely. We talked about, I'll be honest with you, we talked about doing 3 layers of saddle grade. Because we're spinning, because we're already spinning with that motor output pulley, with these PFAFF motors running at such high RPMs, up to 7,000 RPMs, because of our style of belt that's on the motor, and because of the foot controller we're working with, I really think it's futile until I make a couple of, well, at least until I change the belt out for the customer. I think it's futile trying to go to 3 layers of saddle grade. We're going to be able to get through it fine, but the stitch presentation is not going to be there because I know we're going to get slipping. We're going to get slipping because that motor is going to be over revving. So instead of adding this 3rd layer to these 2 layers that we already did, we're going to stop here and I'm going to add this to the denim for Tim so we can try denim and leather combination. Now we just have to decide how many layers I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this in half. So I hope it's helpful to see this and to understand it, because inevitably on one of your machines, depending on when you get the machine or how you set the machine up yourself, you're going to have a certain style of belt on there, unless it's a machine that doesn't have a belt like the Slant-O-Matic series machines or the 201 or the 1591 that have that gear to gear. The style of belt can weigh into the stitch quality because of how it's going to interact with that motor to provide even feed across the feed dogs. In other words, if it's racing and there's a possibility of that material as it's quickly passing over the feed dogs to slip, you're going to get inconsistency in that stitch. The same thing is true as you're looking at the style of foot controller you're using and how it interacts with that motor. The foot controller is the gateway to that motor. And if it opens up almost like a dam, instead of opening up a dam a little bit to allow that water to flow, if that dam just breaks and busts and all that water floods at the same time, which is what we're getting a little bit of right now with this electronic foot controller interacting with this high amperage PFAFF motor, then you're also going to get inconsistency as well. So it's not the fault of the machine. It's the factors that we're dealing with a foot controller interacting with a vintage motor, and then also the belt that we have driving that motor right now. So anyway, I want you to understand that. I want you to understand and appreciate that. So, okay, what do we have here? Let's see. Let's trim this down a little bit so we get. So Tim was talking about 1-in-1. What I'd like to do is, but I want the leather on the outside too, so we can see the leather. Why don't we do this? Let me cut one more piece. My thought is I wanted to sandwich, and Tim might have a totally different idea. And if you do, Tim, let me know that. But I was thinking about sandwiching these 2 layers of denim with 2 layers of saddle grade and trying to duplicate the same sew off, laying down a zigzag, a controlled zigzag, going down these 4 layers of material, the 2 saddle grade, the 2 layers of denim, and see if we can maintain stitch quality. We're going to have a lot of trouble managing that motor, holding that motor back from overspinning, but I can give it a go. So if that's acceptable to Tim, let me grab one other piece of saddle grade leather and we'll try going down these 2 layers of saddle grade, these 2 layers of weighted denim, and see what outcome we get. All right, this is a smaller piece of saddle grade. I'm actually going to cut this excess off as well. And this is actually higher than Tim suggested that we go. And based on our setup with this motor over revving, he might be wiser than I in trying to do this. But I would be curious to see what outcome we can get as we look at combining the leather. And you can see again, depending on where it comes from the hide, these 2 layers of saddle grade are going to be different thicknesses. And then we're going to be sandwiching it together with this heavy denim. So we'll see what we get as far as an outcome, and yeah, kind of go from there. We cut that end off, trim that off a little bit as well. So this is what we're going to be attempting. This is what we're going to be attempting right here. We're combining denim, we're combining leather, and we'll see if we have success or a challenge. I'm going to do my best to manage the motor and the foot controller together right now and over revving and causing us to have some feed factor issues. And we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get. Let's give it a try. I could take the easier road and go with Tim's suggestion of 1-in-1, but I'd like to step it up and make it a little bit more challenging. Okay, let's see what we get. Let's see what we get now. This will be interesting. Uh, we've already gone at it with 2 layers of saddle grade leather on our last sew off. The straight stitching, because it's rapidly trying to pull that material through, we got slippage, was more of a challenge. Better outcome with the zigzag. Now we're going to try increasing it even higher by going with the 2 layers of saddle grade and then adding 2 additional layers of denim. The total thickness is probably 5 to 6 millimeters. That's not an easy sew off. So we'll see how we do. All right. Hopefully you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to do this real quick to try to help us out a little bit. And this is something you can do as well. If you're dealing with a motor that tends to be over revving, let me move this over. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that clutch out real quick. Take that clutch out real quick on the machine, so we have to unthread it. And I'm going to do another cleaning on those pulleys to see if that will help us to get a little bit better traction using this cogged belt on this high revving PFAFF motor. And we get a little bit more of a smooth launch with it. And what I recommend for doing that with is good old rubbing alcohol. You take a Q-tip swab, and some rubbing alcohol, and you're going to be cleaning the pulley of the motor, and also cleaning the track that the belt is running on the plastic balance wheel. If you didn't know it, on the Model 130s, the balance wheel is not metal. It's actually a polymer plastic material. So we're able to safely use this rubbing alcohol to clean that without affecting, a painted metal surface. Like rubbing alcohol might interact with that in a different way. I'm going to see if I can get the camera over there to show you what I'm doing. See if I can get the camera over. So we're kind of looking down on the motor now. This is our pulley right here. You got to be real careful because that Q-tip can get pulled into that belt very, very easily. See if I can give a little bit of a spin up here. So I just cleaned that pulley. Look at what we got off of that pulley. Hopefully you can see that in the shot. And I've cleaned this multiple times already. Now we're going to take the other end of this and see if we can clean that track on the balance wheel just a little bit as well. And this is kind of a tricky proposition because I have to kind of hold it in the track and not get my fingers caught in the belt either. So I just cleaned the side on the balance wheel, and that's what we got off of that. So between the two, this is not going to solve it completely, but it'll definitely help us out. Definitely going to help us out in getting better traction with this PFAFF motor running at such a high RPM. And right now we're using this cog style belt, which again has, because of the cogs, it raises it up. It's got those teeth on it. It gives us a little bit less surface gripping to this high output pulley from this motor. This motor tends to run very, very fast by design. Can you hear that? That's we're peaking at almost 7,000 RPMs. And with this style belt, it's just not, it's not ideal. So it's okay that we're struggling a little bit with this because it's something that can be overcome by, I'll change that. I thought the cog belt would be fine. It's a new cog belt, but I'll be changing that out to a V style belt. And now we've cleaned this, so hopefully we have a little bit more success with this super heavy duty sew off that Tim wants us to try. Actually, it's two times what Tim wanted us to try. I'm kind of one upping him a little bit there, or two upping him, something like that. And I'll do my best to hold that very fast motor back from giving us uneven feed. I'll do my best. All right, here we go again. And again, I see everything we're doing as a success because it teaches us new lessons about challenges and obstacles that any one of us, as we're working with vintage sewing machines, can encounter. And it shows us that there's not a problem with this machine. This machine is sewing to, I'll just say it, even though I never say it. This PFAFF 130-6, just like its brother back here that's being offered for sale, is sewing to perfection, but we're dealing with a motor and a foot controller setup that are creating challenges for us. And then we're also dealing with a belt right now that's allowing slippage as well. And then that motor over revs to 7,000 RPMs. And if you're ever driving your car and you have a tachometer on your car, it's not the speedometer, but it shows you the revolutions of that motor running. When you get up to 7,000 RPMs on your car, in all likelihood, and I'm remembering this from the days when I owned a high performance car, if you're running 7,000 RPMs on your car, you're probably doing about 120 to 140 miles an hour, maybe even higher than that, depending on the car. I remember with my Jaguar that I had years ago, when I would get up to about 5,000 RPMs, I was doing about 120. And so 7,000 RPMs, that's crazy. But that's the way these motors were designed by PFAFF, to run at high RPMs. And you've got to have the right traction interface and the right power distribution interface. In other words, you have to have the right belt on them that grips that pulley. Right now, ours is slipping a little bit. And you also have you have to have a right foot controller that's going to meter out that power, like opening up a dam to allow the water flow without busting the dam open and allowing that flood of water all at the same time. So hopefully that makes sense. These are all lessons that we're learning, and it gives us greater possibility of success moving forward in the future. Just checking a quick message. I apologize. So what we're going to be sewing through again, if I were to measure it, is probably going to be with the leather and the denim that Tim wanted to see. It's going to be almost 14 ounces thickness between the leather and the denim. So about 6 millimeters thick, approximately. About 6 millimeters thick. I should measure it. It's probably going to be even a little bit thicker than that. Almost 8 millimeters thick. Looking around for my caliper. Yeah, I was close. Right around, it's actually a little bit over 6 millimeters, probably close to 7 millimeters thickness. 7 millimeters of thickness that we're going to be going through right now, attempting to go through. Because again, we push the machines a lot harder than most people do, don't we? But that's okay. Faith and confidence in the process, in the workshop magic. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let me go after this. We're going to go down it with a zigzag again. And let's see how we do. Again, this is pushing things 2 times further than what Tim was asking us to do. He was asking for a 1-in-1. We're going with 2 layers of leather, 2 layers of denim. So if we get even, if we get even close to the mark, I'll be incredibly happy considering the obstacles that we have in our path right now. All right, here we go. See, this is why I say never give up. Never give up. As you learn what your setup is and you identify the obstacles and you say, this is how we're going to navigate. Just like when you're in the military, you'll have obstacles in front of you, or in a confidence course, as we used to call them, you'll have obstacles and you put together a plan on how to navigate around those or navigate through them. We've got our own obstacles here. We've got the obstacle of the motor overspinning because of the foot controller. We've got this style of belt that I have on the machine right now that came with the machine from the customer. And we battled it a little bit, but I'm becoming familiar with it now. And I'm making adjustments as I'm interacting with this great machine, because this machine is great. Even though our setup is causing it to struggle a little bit, let there be no mistake that this is a great machine. And this will prove it right here. Tim wanted 1-in-1. I said, no, let's go 2-in-2. And this is what we got. This is our top stitching. And think about how much this needle has already sewn. But now I'm adjusting to the obstacle of that motor overspinning because of the foot controller. I'm making adjustments in my mind as I'm interacting with this great machine. And this is what happens as a result of that. This is that intimacy factor with your machine where you can figure things out because you spend enough time with that machine. Others would sit down to it and be absolutely mystified as to what to do. But this machine and I are developing an intimacy now. We're developing an intimacy. And this is the result. A top stitch that is a solid page 34. And the consistency of that stitching, in spite of the obstacles, is absolutely spot on. And again, this is 2 times what Tim wanted to see. He said, let's do 1-in-1. That's enough. Nope, it's not. Absolutely amazing. And this is an amazing machine after Workshop Magic. And it's still amazing, even in spite of a slipping belt because it's getting over revved and everything else. Look at what we went through. Beautiful top stitching. Now let's look at the lock stitch. Let's look at that lock stitch now and see how we did there. That is, I wish you could feel this with your own hands. This is crazy, crazy thick. Crazy thick. Here's our lock stitching. From start to finish, as I've figured out how best to work with the challenges that this over revving PFAFF motor, 7,000 RPMs, was throwing into our path. And now look at what we just did. Lock stitching, top stitching. If you think that's easy, give it a try. Give it a try, please. And I want to thank Tim for suggesting it. I sometimes forget that we can combine materials. I know that sounds silly, but I'm looking at each material as a standalone. And when someone brilliant like Tim says, hey, Scott, can we combine leather and denim? Yeah, we can. Why not? We can do anything we want. As long as the leaders say I can. The leaders say, no, Scott, don't do that. Then I'll probably be respectful of them and say, okay, all right, I won't do that. But the leaders didn't object. I didn't object. And we took on something like this, something like that, something like that. And got that. And that. You know, they always say when they're talking about Olympians, and I talk about these as sewing Olympics. I talk about these as sewing Olympics when we're talking about running a machine through the paces and not an easy type window dressing thing where someone will do a light sew off and they consider the deal done. They say, oh, look at the machine. Look at how well it's stitching. I sewed through a couple layers of cotton or whatever. And we're like, no, 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 no. That's not a true test of the machine. That doesn't give the machine an opportunity to show greatness. Nothing close, but 8 layers of denim. That's a true test. Saddle grade leather. That's a true test. 2 layers of saddle grade leather. That's a true test. 2 layers of saddle grade leather and 2 layers of weighted denim. That's a true test. So we can see the greatness of that machine shining through. That's what our goal is in these live streams. It's to see the greatness of that sewing machine, whatever type it is, shining through so that people like Susie and others that watch these live streams, not only are they watching them, they're on the leadership team directing that live chat and contributing in so many ways. And they are so inspired by us taking the rougher road to really, really draw the greatness out of that machine, that they step out and they buy a machine just like they've seen on that live stream because they're so impressed with the greatness factor of that machine. That's what these live streams are all about, is the greatness factor. So as we start to build our own little sewing Olympics with denim and leather and denim and leather combined, someone that's watching this maybe as a video later, or maybe they're sitting in the shadows right now saying, holy cow, I've never seen what technically is a household sewing machine sewing at that level, to that level of greatness. I've got to get one of those. Matter of fact, I might see if I can get that machine that Mike is offered which Scott has promised is going to sew at the same level or even higher than the one that we're seeing today. And it's going to come with that limited lifetime warranty out of the workshop as well. That's what these live streams are all about. It's drawing the greatness out of the machine so that people that are looking on, maybe even skeptical, and they say, no, 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 no. To sew at this level, you need to get a sail right. To sew at this level, you got to get a console with a servo motor. To sew at this level, you've got to get some sort of a light industrial machine. And then all of a sudden, they see a machine like this doing this, and they're like, wow, wow, I had no idea. That's why we do these live streams. That's what motivates us to do these live streams. That's why I do the live streams. Now let's go to the opposite direction. Let's go from sewing at a crazy high level, stepping it way down to sewing velvet. Machines like this, as rugged and as tough as nails as they are, they can also go to the lighter side with a few adjustments, and they can get the job done beautifully there as well. So let's do that a little bit now, going to some of this velvet material that might go on a tree skirt or something like that. And we'll see if we can't see greatness laid down again. I'm going to fold these back to back. I definitely don't want this side down. It's incredibly slippery, and we're already getting that motor over revving with that foot controller. We're going to go with something that has a little bit more traction, putting the velvet down and seeing if we can buzz through these 2 layers of velvet. And yeah, let's see what we can do with this. Put that presser foot down. I've got to back off that presser foot pressure just a little bit up here. Back it off a little bit. Not a lot, because this is slippery stuff. We still want to have enough pressure pushing down. And then we're also going to adjust our fine tuner over here a little bit for that upper tension. We're going to bring it up just slightly. Bring it right about to there. I don't want to bring it all the way up because we got these 2 surfaces, these 2 thicknesses, and they're a little bit slippery. We want to keep enough tension to define that that lock stitch. Matter of fact, I might have gone a little bit too far. Let me move it back down a little bit. There we go. And we'll see if we can lay down a straight stitch and also a zigzag. I'll see if I can lay down the straight stitch first, and then we'll lay down a zigzag next to it. I'm going to try to do it without those little clips, those little clamps that that Paula Noel sent me some time ago. I'll try to see if I can control the feed. It's going to be a challenge with this motor and this foot controller working together, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Hold on real quick. That was a Susie notification. Oh, really? Hold on. Susie said 535 people in the live stream. What? Really? Oh, wow. Yeah. It's encouraging, isn't it? When you see an audience of several hundred, 535, people are checking us out right now. They're finding out what's the deal, what's the buzz about these cow country people that are followed by Schmetz Needles and Brother International and PFAFF and all the big shots out there. They follow us on Facebook. They follow us on YouTube because they're really kind of tickled pink about what we're doing with their products, with their needles, with their threads, and what we're demonstrating these machines being capable of. So thank you, Susie, for letting me know that. I wasn't watching. I didn't know. Had no idea what was going on with that. Hold on real quick. I've got a call me ASAP from a good friend of mine. And I can't call him right now because still in the live stream. Still in the live stream. We'll call you as quickly as I can. Period. Hope you are okay. So thank you, Susie, for pointing that out. Um, yeah, it's not about the numbers for us, is it? But it is encouraging when we see that many folks are interested in what we're doing. It still is really, really cool that they're interested in what we're doing. Okay. So I'm going to do my best to go down this and we'll do a straight stitch and then we'll see if we can lay down a zigzag next to it. Again, we've gone from super crazy heavy duty to velvet now. We're on the super light side and we'll see if we can lay down some good stitching down this velvet after running the paces of this needle through so much already. Again, most people generally do not sew leather, or excuse me, they do not sew velvet with a harpoon style leather needle, which is what we're using. We've got a size 18, size 110 leather needle in this PFAFF 130-6 that belongs to Mike, movie Mike. And generally you don't sew velvet with a leather needle, let alone a harpoon style leather needle. But we're going to give it a try and see how we do. Okay. All right, here we go. And I'm anticipating, because of how thin this is, we might have a little bit of a tension balance issue. And if we do, I'll run down it a second time. We'll make some adjustments and we'll try to fine tune that in a little bit. And generally, it's interesting with our fine adjuster on the upper tension and all the other things we have going for us. It's usually the top stitch when you go to this thinner velvet that we struggle with a little bit more. So I'm going to back off our upper tension just a little bit, anticipating that we might have some top stitch definition issues. All right, here we go. Yeah, not so much so. It looks like we did pretty good. Yeah, all in all, we did well. I mean, again, we're sewing with a size 18 leather needle, and I think all in all, it managed this straight stitching on this velvet very, very well, very, very well. We're going to lay down a zigzag next to it, and then I'll show you both stitches. I want to try to keep this orientated. Let me see. That should be our top stitch right there. Put a little T on there. Let's see here. That's going to be our top stitch. This is going to be our lock stitch. And I'm going to make one more. Well, no, I'm not going to make any more adjustments. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I was going to make one more adjustment as we look to lay down a zigzag down this slippery velvet stuff, but I'm going to leave the tension set exactly where it's at right now. So I'm going to adjust this up to 4 as far as the stitch width. We're already at the maximum for stitch length. Stitch length is at 5, stitch width is at 4. So we're going to be laying down the widest zigzag we can lay down on this lightweight velvet material. All right, let's check this out now. Here goes our zigzag, and I'm going to try to keep that motor tamed so it's not over revving as much. But until I change out that belt, it's going to be trying to over rev up to about 7,000 RPMs. All right, here we go. Get that a little bit closer. Yeah, we maintained, I didn't make any additional adjustments on the tension, and we maintained some really good balance, I think. Got a little bit of slipping of the material because the two slippery sides against each other. I mean, it really is. It's slippery. Hello. So, so we'll see what we got now. We'll look at these two together. Again, I like showing an extreme variety between the super heavy duty and the lighter sew-offs like this. So what do I have here? Top stitch. So I'm going to look at the top stitching first. This is our top stitching. Yeah, and as I suspected, you can see a little bit here where that bobbin case was underserved slightly. I already backed off the upper tension a little bit, anticipating this, but I could have gone even a little bit further when we're sewing velvet like this. Usually with a light sew off like this, you're going to be having more difficulty maintaining stitch integrity on the top stitch than on the lock stitch, where we typically will struggle as we escalate the difficulty of the sew offs, but we still got a very, very good outcome. Let's take a look at these together. And again, take into account we're sewing velvet with a leather needle, a huge leather needle. That's our top stitching. Very, very nice looking top stitching. Other than I would adjust, again, I would adjust the tension down on the upper tension to give a little bit more pull down to this top stitch. It's just a little bit underserved. Other than that, it's really quite lovely. Really quite lovely. And obviously, if we used a more appropriate needle by Schmetz, maybe a Microtex or a universal needle, we would be able to get even better clarity of stitch than using a harpoon leather needle. Top stitching again. So top stitching. Now we're going to turn over and look at that lock stitching. And here you're going to notice an interesting thing. With our zigzag, we could have benefited with our zigzag on the other side, on the top stitch side. We could have benefited from turning that upper tension back. But as we migrate over to the lock stitch, you can see that we've got a good looking stitch, but we almost are on the edge where our upper tension may have to be adjusted up just a fraction to give us greater clarity on this lock stitch. But overall, it's really quite good. It's really, really quite good, quite excellent. Most of you are looking at that and going, that's a beautiful stitch. And you're right. But I always look at things with a little bit of scrutiny because I know we can always make it better. Lock stitching again. Lock stitching. And top stitching. So I would call this a definite success on the velvet. Again, we've gone from some pretty crazy extremes during this live stream. We've done 8 layers of denim. We've done combination of saddle grade leather, 2 layers of saddle grade leather with denim combined on that one sew off. And now we've gone all the way down to the lighter side with velvet. So this is what our sew off sandwich looks like so far with this wide field of materials. Again, that we're sewing with a PFAFF 130-6 being driven by a 1.3 amp motor that really, really likes to go fast. If you've ever had a fast car before, you just like to drive fast, you would be well fit and well suited to work with PFAFF motors. They love to run fast. And as long as they have the right belt on them and the right foot controller, they can do it and they can deliver amazing results, just as this one has, in spite of some of the challenges. So we might as well slip over and look at some of this towing material. I think this would be a great thing to focus on now. This towing material is going to give us an opportunity to go down material that's rated, again, a single layer. This is rated at 2,000 pounds. When we go through two of them, we're looking at a rating of about 4,000 pounds of tensile pulling strength. You can tow a car with this. You can tow a truck with it. That's how strong this stuff is. So let's see if we can buzz down this, laying down a zigzag. This stuff tends to be a little bit tricky because it's got that woven material, and it can create a lot of havoc when it comes to skip stitching, a lot of havoc. And I'm going to give us a little bit of an edge on the upper tension. I'm going to bump this up just a little bit again. I'm also going to bump down our fine adjuster to a heavier sew off and see if we can get through this stuff with the same level of success that we have everything else. I'm not even going to bother laying down a straight stitch on this, because this white thread against this white towing material, it'll be virtually impossible to see it. So we're going to go to the higher road, lay down a zigzag. Again, that needle swing going through this woven material is going to raise the difficulty level even higher because of that needle movement, that needle swing. We're creating those puncture points, and then we're stretching that thread. Tension has to be spot on. Otherwise, we're going to have some major tension factors as we're going down this. I'll try it at this setting, and if we have success, great. If we don't, we'll always adjust it, stitch down it again. Okay? Presser foot pressure should be good. Tension is good. Let's give this a go, see what we get. It might even be hard to see this with, we'll struggle seeing this a little bit, but we'll do our best to see it. Some beautiful stitching on this, this towing material. And I've gone higher than 2 layers on this before, but I think this is when you're talking about the equivalent of 4,000 pounds you could pull with 2 layers of this, I think that's a good enough test for this Western Germany machine. Okay, so I think this is our top stitch. Let's look at that first. Let's see what we can see with white on yellow. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I might have to come out to about there. Maybe like this, it'll be better. That is really tough. That's really tough to see. And I know Candido might be watching this on a bigger screen, because one time I didn't think we could really see the definition, but he could see it on his end. I can tell you right from here, I can see it very clearly. See if I turn it on an angle, that might help a little bit too. I'm going to angle the camera down also. That actually helps quite a bit when I angle the camera down. Still a challenge, still a challenge. I recognize that. I wish I could make it easier to see it, but the camera struggles with certain colors, and yellow is one of them. If they made these towing straps in brown, it'd be a whole lot easier. Maybe they do. Well, we're seeing what we can see, but it's a beautiful zigzag stitch going down this towing material. Both the top stitch and also the lock stitch as well. No tension factors whatsoever, which is almost a little bit surprising to me, considering we didn't make any drastic adjustments. I wish I could show you more, but this is what we got. I wonder if that would work. I mean, I just had a crazy idea. I don't know if that would work or not. Probably won't. It might help a little bit. Kind of a screwy idea, but I thought I would darken it a little bit, see if we could, if that'll help a little bit in seeing it. Probably not. All you can see is the black now. Yeah, this camera hates yellow. It hates yellow. Any of those light colors. Actually, that did work a little bit, didn't it? It's focused on the black now instead of the yellow. I guess that wasn't a screwy idea after all. You can actually see the stitching there. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Just a little bit of a permanent marker. Let's see if the other side works as well. This is our lock stitching, I believe. I kind of lost track. That actually worked. I'm amazed. So, at any rate, you can see the stitch quality is just absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So, we don't have a lot to do, but I would like to sew cotton at least before we wrap this up. I would like to sew cotton at least before we wrap this up. Yeah, I'll just put this on the back of the bed over here. Okay, let's do some cotton. I usually start with cotton, and I didn't do cotton this time at all. So we'll do a straight stitch. Again, we're sewing cotton with a size 18 leather needle. I guess that's okay. All right, let's do a straight stitch and a zigzag, and then we'll consider this deal done. And I won't make any adjustments to the tension. We'll see what kind of stitch quality we get with this. I'll tell you, my pressure foot pressure is too high, that's for sure. So for this cotton, we're not getting quite enough top stitch definition, but we're just going to keep plugging ahead. We know the adjustments that we would make, and it's just a subtle difference. We'll lay down a zigzag next to this now, and then we're going to move into our final sewing. I think what I'll do is I'll skip the additional bubble gum material, although I could certainly do that. Let's lay down a zigzag next to this. And again, generally you don't want to be sewing cotton with a size 18 leather needle, but we do it. Now we're going to lay down that zigzag next to this straight stitch. Lay down that zigzag next to the straight stitch, and then we'll launch into our final sew-offs, which I've got to do a little bit of sewing in a circle, maybe to some German polka music. Got to do a little bit of sewing in a circle. Okay, so our top stitching first, and then we'll look at our lock stitching. And again, I recognize with our setup, we're sewing with a size 18 leather needle. We would do some adjustments on here. If we were sewing a bunch of cotton, number one, we wouldn't be sewing with a size 18 leather needle, most likely. We'd be sewing with a universal, maybe a microtex or something of that nature. But still, in spite of that, because of how amazing this machine is after workshop magic, we're getting a beautiful stitch, top and lock, in spite of our setup. So here's our top stitching. Look at it vertically as well. Beautiful top stitching. We'll turn it over, look at that lock stitching now. Some beautiful lock stitching as well. And again, we could get even better stitch clarity and quality if we change out our setup a little bit. But still, we've got a beautiful, beautiful stitch. And it looks like our lock stitch might be a little bit over emphasized. So if we were going to be sewing a bunch of this cotton all day long with a stiffener, we would back off that upper tension just slightly to give a little bit more of that definition back to the top stitch. But a lovely, lovely, lovely lock stitch. Beautiful lock stitch. You can see at this point, I've gotten used to the overspin of the motor with this electronic foot controller. And now I've gotten it down to nearly a science where we're having some great outcomes with the stitch clarity, the stitch presentation, without allowing that motor to overspin as that electronic foot controller gives it a floodgate burst instead of an even measured burst like a conventional foot controller would do a lot better job of. So beautiful stitch quality on this cotton top stitch and lock stitch. I'm going to add this to our pile. And now I think we're finally going to move into a phase. This is a true test. This is a true test of that machine already. We're going to wrap it up with a little bit of sewing in a circle with some polka music. I've got saddle grade leather. I've got protected full grain leather. I think we've done more saddle grade than we have protected. So I might move over to that protected, see if we can wrap up our live stream with some fun stitching on this. And what I'll do is I'll use a zigzag so that stitch pops out more, but I'm going to go ahead and narrow that zigzag down as far as the length and the width so that I can get even a tighter pattern layout on this protected full grain leather. So yeah, I think this is an adequate test already, but we'll go just a little bit further. I'm going to go just a little bit further. All right, so let me take us down from a setting on 4 of width, take us down to about 2.5. And we'll take down our stitch length to about 3.5. That should be a pretty good balance between the two, I hope. I'm not going to do anything to our tension right now. I think I'll leave that the way it is. I'll make a quick observance of the stitch caliber as we're going down. And if we have to make a slight adjustment midstream, I'll go ahead and do that. But I'm really impressed, and I hope you are as well, as you look at this 130-6 has just done a spectacular job through a wide scope of sew-offs you can see underneath there. And it really gives you an idea of why people love these Western Germany machines. They're just spectacular. And they're not only workhorses, but as you saw with the velvet, they can lay down a page 34 plus stitching on the velvet as well and really do an outstanding job of sewing that wide field of materials, a wide field of materials. And again, just focusing on the machine in the back that's available for sale, that Mike is offering, expect the same or even better, as I look at using a different belt on that one back there, and we address some of the other factors of setting it up for success. But in spite of that, I think we've had a great outcome on this Western Germany machine during this live stream. It really shows you why people go after these machines. And then if they can get the embroidery kit on the back as well, that's even a sweeter deal. The embroidery kit that can get mounted to these to give them a wide scope of decorative ornamental stitching, it's really kind of the icing on the cake, isn't it? And that's something that maybe Mike eventually will add to this 130-6 if he can source an embroidery kit for this machine. So, yeah, really impressing. Very, very impressing. I'm going to check to see if I have any other text messages that I have to address, and then we'll wrap up this live stream. Oh, yeah, that was a message from Bill sharing his address. And again, Teresa, if Teresa is still in the live stream, if she would be so kind as to share her address as well. I'm sure I can find it somewhere, but that would be awesome. Okay, I don't think there's any other text messages I need to respond to. So let me put on a little bit of polka music, and we'll wrap up this final sew-off. All right, this is our Western music. Turn the volume down a little bit. And it should go into some traditional polka music shortly. All right, well, let me pause the music real quick. Just say thank you again to everybody. I know that Tuesdays are a little bit more of a challenge than a Saturday. So our audience has gone up and down, up and down, up and down, and up and down as people have wanted to pop in and check things out, and then they've had to step away. And that's all well and good. Again, we're not about the numbers, but it's exciting to see people getting more and more excited about what we're doing on the Cow Country YouTube channel and certainly the Facebook page as well. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And with your input, we're only going to get better. So the prairie style music that's wrapping up now should go into some polka music. And as soon as it does, I'll launch into this final sew off. We'll go around and around and around with this protected full grain. And again, protected full grain is going to have a special chemical coating on it to protect it against staining and to give it more durability. And so it does raise that piercing threshold. It definitely raises that piercing threshold. But that's all well and good. That's all well and good. We're up to the task, and we'll have a little bit of fun kind of going around and around and around. I think I got another text message. Maybe that was Teresa. I have no idea who that was. That may have been a Facebook notification. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the phone any longer. Let's wrap this up. And again, thank you to all of you that have taken time out of your busy Tuesday to join us for this live stream today to celebrate not only this great 130-6 that we've been watching and that I've had an opportunity to present to you, but also this other 130-6 as well that is available for sale and will come with a limited lifetime warranty, get all of the workshop magic, and be able to do a great job for you and be a great addition to your collection. So, yeah, let me know. Reach out afterwards. And if you're interested in getting more information, I'll be happy to share that with you. Okay. All right. So we've got that all set up there. What happened to my music? My music stopped because I stopped it. That's why. Aha. All right. Here we go. Yep, good tension balance. I sewed over the thread a little bit here before I cut it. All right, let's check out this. Quick little pause on the polka music. So again, protected full grain leather, a single layer, not really a big challenge for this machine at all. You're still talking about 3 ounces, nearly 4 ounces of leather. But for this PFAFF 130-6, it's no big deal. And some beautiful page 34 zigzagging. Again, this is not the maximum size zigzag. It's scaled down by probably about 20%. And some beautiful, beautiful stitching. You can look at it there in totality. Show you how beautiful this machine is sewing. Machines always sew better than I sew, you know what I mean? But some beautiful stitch quality. Kind of go around here and kind of show you a little bit closer up. There we go. So if you're looking for a machine that can handle a lot of leather, a lot of denim, a lot of anything, you're hard pressed to find a better machine than a fully restored PFAFF 130-6 from the workshop. Mike is offering one that will do all the things and more that you saw in this live stream today. So reach out if you have an interest in that. Here's our top stitching again, our lock stitching, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on lock stitching also, and with no major tension adjustments. Some of these you really have to pull them back to see them. See if I can pull this one back a little bit more. So between all the sew-offs we did, which I'll recap real quick for you, we just did this final sewing around in a circle with this protected full grain leather. And this PFAFF 130 did a spectacular job. I'll set them right here. We obviously tried cotton really, really late in the process, but this 130-6 did a brilliant job on cotton as well. So cotton, protected full grain leather, towing strap. If you're stuck somewhere, I finally colored over it in a little bit of permanent marker so we could see the white thread against the yellow towing strap a little bit more easily. And we were finally able to catch a glimpse of that sewing as well through these 2 layers of towing strap. Gives it a total strength pulling value of around 4,000 pounds. And this 130-6 went through it like a hot knife through butter. We went to the light side and did some of this velvet and laid down beautiful stitching on this velvet material as well. So it's not just a heavy duty sewing machine. It can also handle the lighter things as well. But on the heavier side, again, how often do you see on a live stream someone going through 8 layers of weighted denim? It's not only a heavy denim, it's a weighted denim from what Emma said, where she found this down in Florida and sent it here. That's what we went through on this heavy sew off with this denim. That's what 8 layers of denim looks like. Crazy, the thickness factor. And yet this PFAFF 130-6, no challenge. No major challenge whatsoever. We did a single layer of saddle grade. I think I did this off camera. 2 layers of saddle grade while I was still figuring out how to manage the speed factor with this PFAFF motor revving up to 7,000 RPMs. I've got a belt that's not gripping that pulley as well, which I'm going to remedy after the live stream for the customer, because this is the belt they sent with the machine. I thought it would be adequate. It's not. And also the factor that we're using an electronic foot controller on this sew off with 2 layers of saddle grade while I was still learning how to manage that burst factor, and that feed was slipping a little bit. We still had a decent outcome, but it wasn't nearly as outstanding as my follow-up inspired by Tim. Tim said, let's combine saddle grade leather and denim. Let's do both, but let's just do 1 layer of each. I said, that's not enough. That's not enough. That's an insult to this German engineered machine that has gone through the workshop process. I'm going to double it. So we did 2 layers of saddle grade, plus we added those 2 layers of denim, weighted denim on top of that for all of this. And we got this. Look at that size 18, the size hole that it punches in that saddle gray leather. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Look at the size of the hole. So on this live stream, with the exception of that one little sew off of the saddle grade that I did off camera, this was all in the live stream today. This is the real deal. This is the real deal where you have so much confidence in the readiness of that machine that you're willing to run it through the paces of cotton, towing straps, velvet, crazy thickness of 8 layers of denim, weighted denim, saddle grade leather upon saddle grade leather, and then saddle grade leather and denim combined. This is a workshop magic machine that can do all of this. I would challenge anyone in the world to grab their 130-6, run it through the same sew offs, and show me the same results, and I will clap for you. I've issued that challenge over the years numerous times, and I've never had anybody take me up on it, because workshop magic is something very, very special. And the process of 150 steps for a machine like this 130-6 is unmatched by any other person that does anything even close to what I do in the world. There's no one in the world that does it the way I do it here in Oconto, Wisconsin. And that's why Emma started it, and everybody's chanting it now, even around town, for people that follow my work. And they're saying, hey, there goes the Wizard of Oconto. The Wizard of Oconto. Yeah, it is. And this is what the wizard does with machines that come into the workshop. So God bless all of you. Hope to see you on Saturday. And if I feel we're ready finally, you'll finally be seeing Joelle's 1222E doing its dance underneath the bright lights. So with that, I'm going to wrap us up with a little bit more of polka music. If I can get my phone opened up. Yep, here it goes. Take care, everybody. See ya. Aha. I think we have one more song. I'll let it play. Yeah, this is an old style one.
That was easy.